about this rumor that you are really hired Mr. Stark?
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. Thankfully, continuing to push the right button as opposed to the wrong one. It is me, your host, Roddykat, and you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter, News Nerds Need on Twitter, and CB Caps on Instagram. And with me tonight, the man holding the hammer, both legally and physically. The coolest man in the NYC, Agent_70.
What's up, everybody?
And you can find him at Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. And flying overhead with his hammer. Even the poor popular, because goodness knows we need it right now. Not with us tonight. Our two other co-hosts, PC_Dirt, who we can find at PC_Dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, and the various other sites under that umbrella. And of course, the Osiris of this ish, Tim DOGG98, who you can find at TimDog98 on Twitter, CB Cron on Twitter, The Click Nation on Twitter, that's DKLIQNATION, and theclicknation.com, and of course, Comic Book Resources, where he's writing his face off. And not writing Face Off, because that's a terrible movie and no one should watch it.
Oh no!
Although I'm pretty sure one of these days it'll probably be a Face Off comic, and somebody will be happy for that.
I want to say there was one. So
comic
back in the infancy of Comic Book Resources, right?
You know what? I don't know, and I'm scared to even look that up.
Exactly. I hesitate to Google that one.
Yeah, comic book tie-in movies were a thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. But we're not here to talk about that, or at least we're not talking about that just yet, because hey, we are a week away from Avengers Endgame.
Yes, we are a week away. Get hype, folks. Get hype. Stay away from spoilers. Do your best to not spread spoilers. Don't ruin it for other people.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we got a couple articles. We got a couple of news bits on that later.
Right, and we're going to talk about this before we end the show tonight. You know, just a quick admonition to anyone who's going to be watching this, because we're not going to be on our regular time next week, because we will be watching Endgame. So, you know, we'll leave. You know, some of our parting words are going to include some you know, understood, but we still have to remind everyone some things that we have to kind of remind people about when it comes to watching something like this.
Because we love you and you love us and we care.
Exactly. And we can't, and I don't have a spoiler bell to ring around everybody, so you know what I'm saying?
Good, yes. Actually, that just reminded me of something I'll get while I'm starting, but this is the wrong time to pick this up. I was going to say roll for initiative, but we don't have to do that. However, I'm tired and I might have to take a constitution throw. Nevertheless, we're going to start the show off because we got a lot to get through, folks, with the comic books of the week. And boy, has there been a lot.
Yes, sir.
In the comic books and in the news and this. Yeah.
There are a lot of books that came out this week, period.
A whole lot of books and a whole lot of action.
Yes. Some stuff.
Some stuff has gone down and some folks have ended. But anyway, we're going to start off with, and speaking of an ending, Avengers No Road Home number 10.
Right. So we've made it to the end of yet another weekly Avengers event. And this one ended, you know, I actually smiled during most of the pages of this book, because some of it is slightly fourth wall breaking.
Yes.
Some of it is very meta.
I would argue most of it was. In fact, I will almost go so far as to say they set it up to end this way in this manner with said wall breakages and maybe a little bit of history, because after all, it is Marvel's 80th anniversary this year. So pretty sure that possibly played into some of it, if nothing else. But yeah, I was like,
yeah, very meta.
Yeah, indeed. So we start off with the fact that the only Avenger that made it through the wall was the one who
could phase through the door, right?
Right. Potentially was not going to seemingly make it through the series, so we thought, or at some point, end during the season. But apparently that didn't happen.
Right. So, right. So it's not that big a spoiler if we mention the character, right?
Yeah.
The reason why I think it's not that big a spoiler is because the events prior to No Road Home had been leading towards this, the character's appearances.
Right.
So let's not, it's the last issue, but ultimately, if you have been keeping up with this, you understand that one character made it through to confront Nyx, the Greek goddess, or the Greek, the goddess of night, and ultimately he confronts her idea of recreating creation with let's just say positive ideas from the House of Ideas.
Both literally and figuratively and publicly.
Quite literally. Quite literally, yeah.
Yes. So we're talking about Spoiler Bell Vision, whom
I was about to say Spoiler Bell. I'll ring it just in case.
Yeah. So Vision was the only one who made it through the door, and he's confronting Nyx by himself and comes up with the idea of just so happens to go through this whole monologue. It's actually not really a monologue, but goes through this whole speech about, hey, this is a house of ideas. Hint, hint. You know what the House of Ideas is if you're a Marvel fan.
Right.
And it goes even deeper than that because
I was about to say it's kind of a debate and kind of a dialogue between himself and Nyx for a lot of it.
Oh, and the audience and a certain group of the audience.
Exactly.
Because there's some pretty clear messages to detractors, certain detractors in the comic books industry.
Sure.
Or to the comic books industry, I guess you could say. You could do that. But nevertheless, so here's the thing. He's in the House of Ideas, or he is dubbed as the House of Ideas, which, of course, Marvel has been known as the House of Ideas. And a couple other things in this. They're in Long Island.
Right. Well, they end up crossing over into the space between.
Correct. Which basically you could say that's almost, an imaginary zone, aka, the House of Ideas, that figuratively in that way, meaning Marvel at large, because basically whatever power is in this place, Vision uses it to bring forth other Avengers or heroes to fight against Nyx, and he doesn't have to lift a finger. Which subsequently, to just get the story part out of the way, she ends up working, and while he's talking and going through and summoning all these other folks, he is basically transforming, or I guess summoning a past iteration of himself, that being the original Human Torch. And that plays into another thing I was going to get to in a second, which he does to effect use that said Human Torch power to finish the job. All the while he's fighting with these other things. So basically, the last person you would think, would be handling himself in a fight like this with powers like this is the last person you wouldn't think of, But then again, it could be the first person, because you think of Vision as a logical android, although he has grown, since his beginnings. Which I don't know if you wanted to expand upon anything on this before I get into what I was about to get into.
Well, I was just gonna note that I think that particular aspect of the Vision's history has been retconned slightly.
Yes, but they still kind of
Oh yeah, they kind of tap. They tap into, like, my understanding of it is that it's not that he's not the body of the android Human Torch. He's just based upon it.
Correct.
That was my understanding of it. So, but obviously, what Roddykat is getting at is the point that he's making is that Vision was able to tap into his database of every single thing that's happened that he knows of in the Marvel universe, like all the Avengers files and on
he's
all
basically
right. He goes into the back issue bin,
right. He's basically the official handbook of the Marvel universe.
Yes.
Or the Marvel database, if you want to actually, because he even says the Marvel speaks on the Marvel database, which they do. There is one. So I found that quite funny on a couple of different levels. Like,
sure.
I'm surprised he didn't mention the words official handbook of the Marvel universe, something, in not so many words.
Right.
But so yeah, he does tap into that and on that a little bit. But going into actually the Vision's history in itself and what we just mentioned, so there's another reason apparently why Long Island was a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know why?
Because that's where Kirby lived.
Was that where Kirby lived?
I think so.
See, I was looking, so I went and looked that up, and I did not see that.
And I think that's where Stan lived too before he moved to Cali.
And see, that's what I thought, but I was looking for stuff like that to be the case. And if it is, I didn't come across it.
I want to say that's the case, but go ahead.
It makes sense because what it also is that in October 1939, a magazine came out called Marvel Comics Presents.
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, called Marvel Comics #1. Guess who was in that issue? And guess where that issue was placed?
Long Island.
Correct. And that was the first appearance of the original Human Torch.
Ah, okay.
So, and I looked that up, and I got a note. I got a link to also the Marvel Wiki, who also has that information, which doesn't have any information about like Kirby or Stan Lee in it, but I did, because I was like, there has to be, since they brought this up and this was the case, there had to been other reasons why Long Island had to been a thing. It was like, was that where Marvel actually got started, or like you said, Kirby and or Stan Lee was living where before? Because we know Marvel was based in New York.
Exactly.
Has always been based in New York City. So, but anyway, there's without belaboring all of that, there was a lot more history, in this issue, and being kind of referenced than we know, or than is apparent at the time. And I would say pretty well done. Although, which is not necessarily a distraction to the issue, everything leading up to it felt like, well, okay, we're gonna get this one big final battle and the whole Avengers as a whole. But now it's like it's just Vision and Nix, and it basically turned into a big history lesson of sorts. It's
kind of a battle of philosophy because ultimately they couldn't take her down on their own.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's that was the kind of twist that we didn't really see coming, because they did not tease this kind of final battle at all going into this. So, and
usually in event books, it usually goes the opposite way. Usually it's like either a big blown out fight, or something massive ends up happening.
Or there's a Deus Ex Machina type mechanism that drops out of the sky to help win the day. Whereas this was literally a message to just the readership in general that that light and hope will prevail even in the midst of darkness. So and you need both as a balance. So that was that was like the overall message here.
Right. And like I said, there was also a seemingly underlying message to, like I said, the detractors. But whether that was intentional or whether that's something you can,
I think it was all in there. I think they packed it all in there because there's lots of ways that you could take it.
Yeah. And in that respect, they did masterfully with that in this issue, by putting all that together and making it, you can read this from a certain point of view. It's like, okay, really, this is not really, this is a far left turn for what the event, kind of came to be, or what it started out as, I should say. But it still works. Point. Now, the only other things that happen outside of that was we see, which bummed me out, because the whole thing with Vision, and Vision ends up coming out of the battle, by the way, repaired and fully renewed. So we should, because all the while he was basically failing, and seemingly he was going to die during the course of this. This is what we were led to believe. That didn't happen. He came out, but brand spanking new. So surprisingly, they didn't give him a new costume they another
character. Right. So we'll go what it is, what Roddykat is getting at is that there are several endings that tease future directions for several of the characters that were involved in this. So
there were basically like 4 or 5 epilogues. If this was post credits, there would be like 3 or 4.
This is Lord of the Rings. Yeah, this is Return of the King style.
Yeah.
So bottom line, we have the primary movers in this book. We have changes in the status quo for virtually all of them, where. Spectrum, for example, has I
hated that part.
It depends, right? Because it gets this character back to
I hated that part.
Status quo.
Yeah,
because
they basically nerfed her back to normal, or back to quote unquote normal for her original power.
What I was about to say though is that she was already incredibly powerful to begin with before, and they really screwed with her character when they quote unquote had her burn herself out by doing certain things and make herself afraid of going, going.
And the same thing here without the fear,
right?
But it was unceremonious the way that it was like, really, that doesn't make any sense. That makes no kind of sense. But
whatever.
Again, this is comics. Well, not you say that, but I'm like, Monica's one of my favorite characters, and I hate to see her done dirty. And I'm saying that she was done dirty here, but it was like,
yeah.
If you think about it throughout the event, you can kind of see this coming.
No, what I was gonna say is, what they're developing is a relationship, and sometimes in the service of developing that, they're going to take a lot of liberties with a lot of these characters, and the relationship. If you haven't been reading, that
for that relationship.
What they've been teasing though is that she's not comfortable being an immortal.
Agreed.
And that's the way they did. That's the way they needed to kind of bring her back. I understand you want to have her super duper powerful,
and she still is, but
I understand the mechanism. It didn't make any sense to me, honestly. I've always admired the fact that she was kind of the Flash and Quasar at the same time, because she was often used as like the light speed scout.
Yes.
In the Avengers runs in the 80s under Roger Stern. So she was doing she was able to project and turn into all different forms of radiation. I'm like, that's immensely powerful,
which assumingly she could possibly still do to a limited extent, but
I think she still do it. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. But the way going into this, she was like she had a power upgrade that she could have kept. Yeah. But nevertheless, it is what it is.
It's a living laser, basically.
Yeah. Oh, don't put that on her. Come on.
Right. But the thing is, she basically wasn't really able to take on a human form, and that's like I said, in service of a relationship. That's why they did it.
Oh, that's a service.
I was about to say, obviously the Hulk has his own book. Rocket is in in a group book, so they don't really have too much addressed in their endings.
Okay, moving past the Monica thing. Well, so Rocket's story, I think we have. I'm not sure if I pulled it for last week or this week, but there was something. There seems to be something upcoming for Rocket that spells something that I know something that if it actually works out the way I think it does, it's not gonna go over well with somebody I know who's a big Rocket Raccoon fan. And
I don't think. Yeah, I've seen that teased in the solicit. So
yeah.
Um,
So if that is actually coming to pass, then I'm like, well, someone's not gonna be happy
we'll
about
see
it.
how that goes. But
Right. There's been like some kind of foreshadowing moments in this, especially at the tail end of this event anyway, going toward that, which is still weird that he was in this book, especially with what's going on in Guardians at the point, which I guess that's in service of that point also.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to the Hulk part, did you hear the theme song?
A little.
Yeah, when that part came through. Because
what you have to remember is that in the previous issue, a bunch of the members of this Avengers team, this kind of makeshift Avengers team, were transported away, and so we kind of caught up with them, kind of put back into their places in the current continuity of the Marvel U. So, we have kind of like the group of people who can sit around a coffee table. That's Hawkeye, Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Jericho Drum, who is just there to listen to what happened. Well, no, I mean that's what he's there for.
Basically, outside of being, Wanda's,
exactly her significant other. But the point is, like, there's no reason for him to be there other than that.
Like they're just chopping it up. I'm like, well, so all that happened, huh? All right.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. What I was gonna add is, he's kind of there to help Vision kind of explain what he's feeling. We find out what happened to Conan and how he's going to be drawn into Savage Avengers.
And of course, he's in the one place that you would expect that character to be.
Of course.
In the current universe.
Right. The only place that he would fit.
Yeah.
Voyager, we're not 100% sure what's going to happen to her.
Although we saw that part. You had to see that coming, though.
Right, of course.
Because she was, so at the beginning of the event, she was basically holding watch over her uncle.
Right, the bad guy from the first one.
The bad guy from the first one, right. And also an elder of the universe. And he's gone. He's escaped. So.
And then we jump. Right, we jump to a
year later.
Olympus. No, we jump to Olympus.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. But yes.
All right, we jump to Olympus where things are afoot.
Well, yeah. So basically, people we thought dead are alive again.
Right.
Or excuse me, gods we thought dead were alive again.
Right. Because they were myths after all.
Right. And I guess the power. I guess by what Vision and them were saying was like, well, I guess you can postulate that. Well, due to the power of their myths and their status, they're still alive, and they draw in power from that, and therefore.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to come up somewhere again because they wouldn't have gone through the great lengths of bringing them back the way they are, the way this particularly Odin looks. Not Odin, Zeus looks. We'll get to him in a minute. Yeah. But get to the way Zeus looks and has changed, since quote unquote dying at the beginning of this event. It's going to come up at some point.
Unceremoniously, to be honest. So
yeah, kind of.
But But yeah, so we get to the last character who's essentially one of the lead voices in the book, the lead perspectives that we have, and I'm referring to the Lion of Olympus, Hercules, and a brand new direction for that character.
Yeah, and a classic, which. I feel like this is not the first time he has been out in space. I'm fairly sure about that. I mean, and I'm not talking with like
first series. I think was in space,
right?
Like the very, very first one.
Yeah. So, and speaking of that the look he's now sporting looks to be classically inspired by his old costume, in a way, because the whole thing's on the.
Right, that's the only thing that's inspired.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but obviously it
looks like he's got Iron Man power packs from the 1980s costume.
No, right.
So basically, the things on he had the disc. Those were battery packs back in the day. But anyway,
like jetpacks, like Simon. But anyway, so he's got a new look that's like classically inspired, which probably for a couple of his looks, if we look into it a little bit more, but I'm not, because I don't care that much. But there's the one noticeable part, and we kind of leave off with that. if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the last thing that gets shown.
Yep.
So overall, looks like it ended up all nice and neat. It was a weird departure from the from events, books, and big battles and whatnot. But it's also fairly well done for what was presented in here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Despite what you would think about, I was like, well, we didn't get a big bang, big bang out fight. It just kind of, there was a fight.
We sort of did, but it was very much in the background.
Right. Yeah, but it was like
if you're able to imagine, right? If you're able to imagine
going through,
if you're able to imagine all those characters,
right?
Emerging to beat Nyx down, then it was a really big fight, but it wasn't really the focus of the story,
right? Which feels like if that was Rick Jones doing that same thing, we would have been like, hey, I remember that.
Yeah, it's Avengers Forever.
Mm-hmm. So. There's a callback.
Yeah. Well, didn't they mention Avengers Forever as being an inspiration for this particular weekly story?
I don't
way back,
but probably.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not. I don't think I'm imagining that. I think if we go back to the early issues, you know how they had postscript notes at the end. I'm fairly certain they mentioned Avengers Forever as being part of at least an inspiration for this story.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So, all right. So, moving on. What's next?
Yeah. So, yeah, we've ringed that one out. We're going to go into Justice League number 22.
Right. So, this is a pretty important issue, and I'm glad that Roddykat nominated it to be our second book to talk about tonight, because guess what, folks? If you didn't understand anything about what happened in Dark Knight's Metal, what's been happening in this whole, with the whole source wall thing, this book explains the whole thing.
Yeah, pretty much lock, stock, and barrel. Yeah. It was like, all right, there you go. Here you go. Hey, there's no Justice League. Well, wait. Yeah, none of the Justice League shows up in this book at all that I can think of. But
only a little bit. Yeah, I was about to say there's a couple of Leaguers that who are still on Earth.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, bro. I mean, like main.
Yeah, exactly. What I was gonna say is, what this includes is Perpetua's retconned origin and how the first crisis of Infinite Earths and all the other crises came about.
Yeah, well, like what was the catalyst? What was the catalyst of all those? You want to know what the catalyst for all those crises were? Probably minus Flashpoint, I would imagine. But yeah, here you go. It's all right, nice and neat and wrapped up right there. Boom.
Exposition.
And also explains, like Agent 70 said, the for source wall and basically the backbone of Dark Knight Metal, and yeah, just there you go. Everything all laid out, splayed out for you in 22 pages.
Exactly. Like if you needed
done well, I should say.
Well, because because they didn't dwell at all on the regular cast of Justice League. That's pretty much why they were able to do it and explain it through a major flashback sequence.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean, we see a little bit of Legion of Doom there, which who's been a part of the story. But again, even with the little bit of Leaguers that show up for a page, and the Legion of Doom who shows up for like a page and a half, it's like the whole thing is basically a series of flashbacks saying, "Hey, guess what? Everything you wanted to know about the start of why these crises were the way they were, why they happened. There you go."
Right. So this is a pretty important issue to pick up. In all honesty, pick it up or read it, get it digitally, however it is that you get this copy of Justice League, just so that you can understand what has come before if you have been confused, or you will be in the know going forward as the stories ramp up. Roddykat was speculating earlier that this is going to lead into a big event. It probably will, because that's.
Oh, I mean, it is by process of being in the middle of the story, because it's that whatever evil thing they're doing, the Day of Evil. I'm sure it's all going to be in service of going towards that at some point, I feel like. And again, I don't even read Justice League on the regular. I just happen to grab on at this moment.
Right.
So But yeah, you should check it out. I'm saying that as a person who don't regularly read. So, and the other reason why I read it was because I was like, well, this kind of seemed not necessarily a direct parallel, but I feel like there was a little bit of parallel with No Road Home as far as the villainess and her children's part, but not necessarily in the same way at all.
Right. And like I said, you're retconning the origins of the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor, and throwing in the dude that was one of the central parts of Dark Knight's metal. It's all being put together. So this is the connective tissue. This issue explains so much.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's a must read for that. If you were wondering anything about them, all of that.
Yep.
Which I'm kind of surprised that, because we can get off of it after this, but I'm slightly surprised they didn't have this in like an annual or something. It was like, no, it's just in that issue of the book, which granted is the flagship book of the the universe.
Right.
But I'm just to put it in an issue just like this and not have it as a part of like an annual or something is kind of a surprise.
I understand, but I don't think DC's doing much in the way of annuals right now. So
they've done them, but I don't think they've done them this year.
Right. That's what I mean. I don't think I've seen a DC annual in a long time. So my guess is that this is just
but
this is just one of those issues that that's going to become not valuable for. It may become valuable in the future. Just not from the pure speculation standpoint, but just because, exactly, just for the information contained within.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. And now we get to the other event that's taking over the whole universe, as it were. War of the Realms number 2.
Right. So, War of the Realms number 2. Lots of fun. It's a potential click of the week for me. I was flabbergasted by the last page of the book.
So you kind of saw that coming, but at the same time, yeah, it was still kind of striking.
Yeah, flabbergasted. So they use this issue to set the stage for a lot of the spin-off series that are coming up.
Yeah, or have already started.
Right.
As of this week, because is worth noting that there are no less than 3 other tie-in books, probably 4. I guess if you count Thor.
Well, there's a couple. Yeah, there's Punisher.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But all the actual like War of the Realm titled.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. There's a bunch of them. You got to look at the checklist.
Right. So there's a lot of that, and we may go through a couple of them, but whatever. But yeah. So far, this event continues to hit on all cylinders. We after the events of last issue, it was like, you know what? Hey, we gotta. They're basically evacuating, and apparently, the Sanctum Sanctorum is an evacuation point.
Right.
Kind of makes sense, but I can see that at some point it's like, hey, somebody got lost in there. I can see that being a storyline at some point, but I don't know. And then they end up getting powers and coming out. Something I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Dang it, I should be writing comics. I'm just kidding. Anyway, a lot more action, a lot of bodies getting dropped, in which this is, as this week has intended to, as this week has shown, there's a lot of bodies getting dropped in various books, including this one.
Right. I mean, there's a couple of moments that are really cool. There's a literal ride of the Valkyries in this.
I love that part because so the Avengers are fighting over, they're trying to evacuate people at the same time and fighting, and things start looking a little bit bleak until Odin, Valkyrie, aka Brunhilde, and the rest of the Valkyries just come swooping in and start taking over the fight.
Yeah, the Valkyrior, I think that's the plural.
Yes. Just kind of swooping in, and I do love that page where they came, because you see, of course, like, well, Odin's not dead, but he's come riding in and being, the same boisterous Odin as we know him to be.
Exactly.
he gets hurt later on in the issue, but nevertheless,
right.
You know,
It was literally Ride of the Valkyries crossed with the charge of
Brigade.
No. It's the charge of I'm trying to remember. It's from Return of the King. It's the charge of
the Battle of Helm's Deep.
No. The Battle of Pelennor Fields. The horse charge. The Rohirrim charging across the field.
Right.
You could also refer to Helm's Deep too, but I think because it does get pretty bleak, and they're allegedly giving room for the group to retreat,
right.
But ultimately, you could refer to the Rohirrim charge at Helm's Deep and to Return of the King. But ultimately, what we have is Doctor Strange. Right, we have is Doctor Strange kind of overdoing it a bit, and withdrawing the majority of the forces from the field to retreat and regroup. And
because you had to you had to get from point A to point B, and you had to have a way to kind of have another point to split folks up and move things along. So
mm-hmm.
So yeah, the one well placed. I'm like, well, this should go. This should work the way it intended, and it didn't. I mean, it does, but too well. And New York is now empty, with the exception of,
the last few,
right, and the elves. Everybody else has been whisked away. Some against their wish, against their wishes, like the heroes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, okay, they lost that one.
Yeah, that was. Listen, this was a pretty exciting issue. The last page was pretty jarring.
Yes, spoiler alert.
Yeah, was not a fan of that happening. Although apparently, because of information that's been solicited for upcoming comics, we actually understand why this is happening or what's going on with it.
Yeah, I wasn't like, having seen that article or the article in question. We'll get into later on. And having seen the solicitation, which Marvel's July solicitations are out. Marvel should have come out today, which I forgot to pull. Nevertheless, for July, but nevertheless, we see a character meet their end in a not so great way.
Mm-hmm.
After
the first issue.
Yeah, kinda. But this is like, wow, that's kind of gruesome. I mean, it would have been gruesome if they showed it, but nevertheless, it was like, wow, just like that, Which I feel like that's kind of a thing that Marvel's been doing. It's like, wow, they've been getting rid of a lot of people lately. Some of them have been coming back fairly quickly, mind you, but
right.
But they've been
shocking. It's pretty shocking.
Yeah.
But the comic is well done. If you want to get on board, there's it's still only issue 2, so
and you can you don't necessarily have to read the side issues unless you care to want to, because I think we've probably already said on this one, it also gets to a point where you can see some of the other either points going on into the main story or other miniseries are jumping off from this point.
Right.
But yeah,
this issue is going to be out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, which is probably for the best, because this is probably something you don't want to be like, what happened? I don't want to be like, okay, that was a month ago.
Right. It's amazing, the art in this. They gave Douterman some lead time to work on this because it's really, really sharp looking stuff.
Yes. There was some definitely good looking stuff in this. That being the case,
all right, President Wong's going to ask.
Yeah, let us move on. And I was going to mention, so I will go ahead and mention this. I probably won't talk about it too much, but I read World of Realms World Scrolls #1.
Okay.
It's basically like three short stories. It's almost presented in Marvel Comics Presents style, actually.
Okay.
There seems going to be a main story that's the Daredevil one, which was the first story. And I was talking to Agent 70 before this actually. Well, I might as well get into it. Some of the stuff from Worlds, some issues and or miniseries that have started or are starting this week seem to be starting ahead of when they should, or some stuff that's coming out ahead of when I think they should, and that's there's probably reasons for it. Like for instance, the Daredevil story takes place at a certain point, which if you read World of Realms #2,
still hasn't happened.
But then this other book kind of is like, well, this has already happened,
right? So I might
basically World of Realms 2 kind of points to it this happening, because you can see the leads there, but like after it happens, but we haven't yet to see the story of that how it's happening, which is not going to happen for another 2 weeks when the mainline book comes back. So like that being said, like there are some stuff that happens in some of these side stories that hasn't happened yet, and that's slightly jarring, but at the same time, it's probably won't distract too much, because whether you're reading that stuff or not is on you. And then of course there's Punisher one, which I hadn't read, which that was the other little funny point, because Wolverine. Oh, there's a story in there with Wolverine in the War Scrolls, and Punisher is in there also, which they were both in the second issue of War of the Realms, and they had a nice little. I do like that little conversation, quote unquote conversation they had, and apparently it was rolling with each other after that, which led into this story. And then there was another story with the Warriors 4 if you count the other Valkyrie that was rolling with them, and which leads to another story that ends up at the Sanctum Sanctorum. So there's a couple of stories like that. Some of that's kind of, I mean, obviously it's all tied, in service of War of the Realm, but it's a little side stuff that's happening at the same time.
Sure.
I think that's the only other one out of this week outside of that Thor issue, which I'm pretty sure we'll get to in a little bit.
You want to just talk about the Thor issue, just knock it out?
Sure.
So we can cover our War of the Realms.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, my only notes on this is that you definitely need to read War of the Realms #1 before this. This is a direct tie-in.
Absolutely.
And spoiler alert, this is literally the continuing story of Loki.
Right. And especially after what happened to him, you would think, well, what possibly could there have been left to do with that? Because but no, there's still much. And we also know that thanks to solicitations that his story is far from over.
Right.
So because he's going to get his own book in a couple of months. So guess what? What happened to him is not the end of him.
Exactly. But this was it was an entertaining walk down memory lane too.
That's true. Because some of that stuff I didn't, it's like, not as a person who doesn't really follow the Thor books that closely or at all. I'm going to go ahead and say, a lot of stuff that I didn't know anything about.
Right. A lot of it is it was basically the Cliff Notes version of what Loki has been up to during the entirety of Jason Aaron's run.
Right.
Bearing in mind that remember Aaron's run had the future Thor stories too also. So that's where we're able to get this kind of wide-ranging span of time with regards to the developments of Loki.
Right. Or what he could potentially end up being.
And where he's come from. So
or from whom he came from.
Exactly.
In a sense. Which that part, like I said, I did not know about that, but yeah, it seems to be coming from that. So yeah, it's definitely like Agent 7 said, if you were going to read that book, you definitely want, if you read that issue, you definitely want to read War of the Realm. If you weren't already.
I got you. Do you mind if we pivot to a less grandiose story?
You mean no death? Sure, let's do that.
No. Well, there's some death in it. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 19.hu.
Yes.
So the reason why I wanted to pivot to this is that these .hu they're not filler. They're not filler.
You would think they were from the titling
And the
they,
numbering.
let's put it away. They kind of are, but at the same time, no, they're like it deserves
It's
number.
like deep background. Yeah, this is deep background stuff, but you know, a lot of times they're interludes, and this is
Well, so basically, before you even get to that point, so basically what's been happening with these particular HUs or these point issues was that something happens in the main issue, but it gets expounded on, as Agent Shepard was probably about to say, in these issues to great lengths.
right. And in this particular one, it's about the Lizard and Curt Connors, and it's a remarkable issue because we start with a framing sequence that leads you to believe that Curt Connors has pretty much lost it at some point, but no, it's a swerve.
Right. And also comes up a character shows back up, which we'll probably get to in a second,
Right.
shows up that we talked about that should have been a part of this. We talked about this character last week, and sure enough, poof.
Our wishes were answered.
Right. I was like, well, check that box off. But anyway, go ahead. Continue on.
No, that's pretty. I mean, I'm glad that you brought that up right away. Listen, I have to tell you, everyone knows I'm a fan of Chris Bachalo's art, and this particular issue is he does a bang up job. It's nowhere near as kind of quirky and crowded as he can get. It's fairly clear in terms of the art and in terms of the action. So I give Bachalo all the credit in the world. And Spencer tells a great story from Curt Connors' point of view. He really does. We've seen in these .hus, these point issues, villains who are rather sympathetic.
Yes.
And this is no less so sympathetic than any of the previous ones, the Gibbon, Black Cat.
Slightly in a different way than
those
Black Cats, but actually I kind of wondered for a second because it's like, wait, given what happened to the Gibbon, like, wait, are they setting up the Lizard to go the way of the Gibbon?
I don't know.
But it doesn't hold up because obviously Black Cat's still around after her HU. Because I was like, wait, they're setting these HU issues to kind of point this way, but then something happens to these characters, which technically does in all three of them, but in the Gibbons case ended up being final,
right?
And we don't know. As far as we know, we don't see that happening, or we don't know if that's going to happen to the Lizard. Although it seemed like it could lead that way, especially with what the last page kind of alludes to. Because it's basically like, I'll save you if it's the last thing I do. And I'm like, well, that's not ominous at all.
And what's funny is that the Taskmaster is played to great effect, great comic relief in this. He has been featured of late. Because he did play a big role in Secret Empire. He has been, in the background in a lot of these stories, these amazing Spidey stories, and stepping to the forefront here and there. He obviously has been in Bagalia in the Punisher series as well. So it's funny to see the Taskmaster. There's a couple of great lines that he's got in this.
Yeah, old Tony seems to show up a good bit lately. So, but yeah, especially in this was like, okay, so there was a part where the Taskmaster is in the sadly downstripped bar with no name. Because I had totally forgotten that had gotten like
destroyed.
Yeah, like wow, Marvel's kind of taking the pen to a lot of things and people, and like I'm like, wow, just take down but yeah, so the bar with their name has been destroyed, and they've been basically relegated to leasing out space elsewhere as a pop-up.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, so I was like, oh right, I forgot that happened. I was like, dang, that's pretty bad because bar with the name is like, if you're of a certain vintage, you've known that from that's been a place of note for, I guess you could say, Daredevil and Spidey in the sense, kind of
the Punisher as well. So yeah, all of the street level characters know it. So and they deal with it.
And lest you forget the Scourge, which I'm surprised they had. That's probably the one thing they haven't brought back yet. I'm slightly surprised they haven't, but I guess give it time. Anyway, so yeah, we get that, and the Taskmaster's doing karaoke, which sure, why not?
Sure.
And to be beset by one Curt Connors who has an agenda after finding out his boy was taken by the Taskmaster for use in the hunted the bigger hunted thing, although it hasn't been actually used. It's been kind of there. So this is basically the short notes of this is basically how we see, you know, the last page of the last issue. This is how the Lizard gets involved. This is the story of that.
Mm-hmm. This is a potential click of the week for me because of how well it's done.
I can see that. I could see that.
It's just a really well done book. So,
yeah. And again, the you know, the person that also shows up who we thought was the Lizard, you know, and also I don't know if I could say integral to the Kraven's Last Hunt to the Kraven's Last Hunt event.
I described him as an important player.
Yes, there we go.
Piece.
And the fact that he shows up here again, and then Arcade kind of makes a statement, and is like, you know, sure, I get that he's a you know, an important player in the whole thing, but bringing, you know, it's like he was talking to the audience just blatantly. It was like, look, I know he's important and all, but bringing somebody in at this late of the game like that, you know, it kills a story. So I was like, wow, okay, nicely done. Like, okay, we're going to bring him in, but he's not going to be the person, you know, he's not going to be the figure he was in that last story. It's just like, you're just bringing him in because, you know, it's almost like they say, it was like, we're bringing him in because we know you were looking for him.
You were wondering where he was, and now here he is.
Yeah, because we had just talked about this last week. I was like, well, where is this dude? And poof.
Exactly. And he wasn't even the obvious reveal in the story, because, like I said, the framing sequence makes you believe something else is happening.
Right.
So anyway, that's a great, I like that. That's a potential click of the week for me.
So yeah, so I'm glad they're not wasting these point issues.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of dislike point issues because sometimes they're superfluous, but yeah, they're using it pretty decently. Although you could still make a case that was like, why is this not just a regular issue?
Mm-hmm.
So, nevertheless, do we want to stick with spiders or we want to push off to something else?
Sure, we can talk about that.
Wait, did you read it?
Yeah, I read it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Actually, technically, we got two with spiders, but we don't, you know, I don't know if you read that one or not. Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 5. Yeah, we need to push this one anyway. I like this issue. This is a particular click of the week for me.
Okay.
Because especially, so I've been enjoying this book since Saladin has been writing it. This issue is no different. You know, it's a lot of fun. You know, it's got the Spider-Man feel.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's a different Spider-Man, it's a different feel, but nevertheless, it's still all there.
Right, it's the youthful Spider-Man feel.
Yes, exactly.
That's the niche that he's in, and he's working it because that's where he is. He is in high school. They don't have to regress Peter Parker. They have someone else doing the Peter Parker thing in high school.
Right. So, you know, and Miles got his own set of troubles, so own set of issues and things in his life.
Out at Flatbush Avenue and Nostrand at the junction, because there's a drawing there of the train station, two of the entrances to the train station at Flatbush and Nostrand, that I have seen for the majority of my adult life.
Nice.
And I looked, I was like, no way they drew this in there.
Mm. So wait, is that place an actual place in the beginning? The Jamaican joint?
The name of the place doesn't ring a bell.
Sure.
But if you go to the next, well, obviously the BIM is VIM.
Right.
The store. But the The Fisk Bank, that's obviously not Fisk Bank in real life, but that intersection that is depicted there, that kind of triangle intersection, that's real.
Right.
That is absolutely not. That's like 5 minutes away from here, from where I am. Shout out to Classic Materia. One of his boys lives right near that train station. That's where he goes. So it's actually like 10 minutes from here, but still on foot. So
right on.
So yeah, a lot of there's a lot of cool little references to that area of Brooklyn. So,
hey, use it for what it's worth. So yeah, but back to the actual story. So this is Miles. Kind of runs into a gang war. He stops it. He finds out a little bit more about it and who's involved with it, which is a person who's at least one person who he's dealt with in the past couple of issues and seems to be headlong into running into again. Also another classic Spidey villain.
Sure.
Well, I don't know if you call him classic, but nevertheless, he's.
Well, I was about to say, if you watched the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, this is right up that This is right up that that storyline.
I still haven't finished that. I know you have recommended that one.
It's early. It's not late. The character that we're referring to is Tombstone.
Yes.
So there is.
I've always liked Tombstone as a villain. I don't know why, because it's not like he's that big of a villain.
Right.
But he is imposing.
Oh, part of it is the name. The name is great.
But I mean, but the way he was played classically, he was pretty imposing.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess kind of, even though they've kind of, that's been probably nerfed a little bit, but he still, has his motives. Nevertheless, so Miles ends up between his gang war, and that seems to be brewing, and Tombstone and his crew is involved. At the same time, he has a little issue to where his web fluid supplies are running low. I guess they're going to make a point out of that after a while. Ganki's been the one making the web fluid, but apparently their resources are starting to run dry, so they're going to have to find out something else. That's a minor point of the story, but they made
it'll come up because
it's going to come up.
Anytime that was an issue for Peter Parker, it became an issue immediately in the story.
So, and you can see that very clearly. So, like, clearly they brought that up for that reason. So here you go. And it could have me kind of think, I was like, wait. But then again, Peter made his own, and he found a way to somehow that.
Well, they passed it on. Well, I was about to say they passed it on to Miles and Ganki, but at the end of the day, they still need the raw materials, and that's where they're running into problems. So
right. And at first, I was thinking, and you know what? This is where Into the Spider-Verse got me messed up. Or Spider-Gwen, one or two, I can't remember, because I know in one of those instances, I know in Spider-Gwen actually is an instance web shooters kind of self-replicating in a sense. But regardless, that doesn't matter because that's the point we'll get to whenever, and it's not that big of a point now. So they're in school. There's a school bully because they're originally even in schools like his. Apparently, I still think, and I'm gonna say this until this shows itself up. Barbara knows. I'm guessing his girlfriend at this point, right? Because she tries to get him to spill something like, hey, you got a secret you've been keeping from me, and all through the last few issues, when this volume started, you could pretty much seem like she already knows. So whether that's exactly the case, or since she's thinking something else, or maybe we are getting a swerve, I don't know, but I think she knows, and that's probably going to come out at some point. Except going into the end of this issue, Miles is doing his thing, being Spidey, being awesome. That whole junk y'all see was pretty good, where he's come sliding in on the car, or I guess that looks like what he was doing, and just starts going to town on folks. And then he meets up with a would-be ally, someone who actually looks like a Falcon. I was like, wait, is there another Falcon that we didn't know about?
Somebody was going through an issue of National Geographic or like an ornithology book looking for a name that had not yet been used in the Marvel universe to describe a superhero inspired by
I know, right? We need a bird and bird type name that we could throw in here, because we got enough Falcons, which this character still kind of looks like Falcon at first appearance. And I'm kind of wondering, it's like, wait, is that Barbara? I mean, granted, the hairstyle doesn't suggest.
You hit on exactly what I was going to say. That is a lot of work to get your hair done so that you can go into crime fighting action.
Right, but if you watch Arrow, I mean, granted, this is different media and whatnot. You can see there is that kind of happens, because it's like when they had Mr. Terrific on the show, and I guess he's gone now. But when he was in Mr. Terrific mode,
twists or cornrow braids, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He used to go into action?
Yeah.
Wow.
They totally did. But when you see him out, when you see him out of costume, his hair is like, afroed out. I'm like, that has to take time to do. So I just
saying, like, if the shots are being fired, the fire alarm is ringing. Excuse me, I gotta go.
I gotta roll this up real quick so I can get, So I'm like, wait a minute. So here's the thing on this though. Yes, because we see Barbara in the beginning of the book, and granted, this might not be her. So
right.
I almost would bet money that it is, but there's enough about that it doesn't seem like it is. So so because she has straight hair and whatever, and the time that she saw Miles, and then when he meets up with her, it's been some hours, so you could technically do it then.
But anyway,
right? Yeah, but then you gotta come home, unroll that, and go to school the next day. I'm like, no, that's not.
You're dwelling on the realities of it. So right. This is comic books after all. So, but in any event, we're introduced to this new character at the end of the story.
All star.
And it was kind of a screwy cliffhanger, because I think the name kind of bugged me a little bit. I was like, really? But it's nice that they're introducing a new character. I wasn't so enthusiastic about the introduction of this new character, but I like the issue overall.
Right? Did you? Yeah, same here. Did you read the ultimate comic version of Miles?
Yes.
Was this similar?
It's like Bombshell. Come on, that's
what I was getting to.
That was all
what I was getting to.
Gosh,
I was like, is this pretty much in the same similar vein as they did with that? Because I didn't read that much of that comic at the time, but I knew she was a thing that came along. And Bombshell,
it's very similar, right? It's a very similar vibe. And listen, not all of the villains are not all of them enter the pantheon of the rogues gallery. There's plenty of B and C list villains, and
this might not be a villain. This could be an ally, but
what I was gonna say is in B and C list co-stars,
sure,
that pop up here and there in these comic books. So
this could be his Black Cat,
possibly.
We don't know.
Possibly. So we shall see. I like this book overall. Not a fan of the character's name, but we'll see how this develops in upcoming issues.
Yeah, potential click of the week. I believe I said that already, but I'm saying it again.
All right, cool.
So let's move right along. I think we're done with the spiders, except for the one kind of team up, which it's so a little behind the scenes. I don't always do this, but a lot of times I read in a particular order.
Okay.
If stuff kind of flows within each other, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And that's how my list goes. But anyway, you got something you want to? Because I know we still got a couple more books to go through that we both read.
And anyone that takes a look at the sheet, I try to go alphabetically. Unless there's a book that jumps out and wants to be read first. So
usually mine is my reading order.
Yeah,
9 times out of 10, that's my reading order.
Yeah, no, same here. But I try to go alphabetically if there's a lot of books. I try not to hop around. I just kind of plow through. So, But anyway, we're going to get into rapid fire very soon. I think the only book I would want to bring up now is
the books that we've done that we both read.
Well, yeah, we can even rapid fire those because we don't want to linger too long on the review section. There's not much left. Do you want to talk about Magnificent Ms. Marvel real quick, and then we'll hit rapid fire?
I was gonna say let's get Guardians out the way.
Oh, okay.
Because there was a arguably significant thing that happened in that book. But yeah, we could do Ms. Marvel after that real quick.
All right, so we'll go to Guardians.
Yeah. So Guardians of the Galaxy number 4. Not yet tied into World of Realms, but it's got its own set of problems. So you know what? So yeah, Groot's taking over the Guardians. They are on their way to Half-World, where they're thinking where apparently they thought Gamora is going, and I still don't have no. So wait, okay, stop.
Take a breath.
Yeah, because some of this is stuff that has been, I think came out of Infinity Wars, which I still haven't read. So, because I'm still confused as to what happened with a couple of these people. Actually, all of these people in that thing. But nevertheless, they're on their way to Half-World to track down Gamora to stop her from doing something to another former Guardian, based off of something that happened in Infinity Wars. Said character who we kind of mentioned briefly but the first book is not even there on Half-World because he's on Earth. But they do get to Half-World. They have a little scuffle with Gamora until Groot kind of comes along and breaks it up, leading to Beta Ray Bill to say something pretty amusing. Like I'm confused by why I'm even on this team.
Here.
And Moondragon was like, yeah.
It's like, welcome to the team dynamic on the Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, my summary of this book was lots of great action between stupendously powered characters, because there's some serious throwdowns in here between seriously powered characters.
Is half powered and half skilled.
Right, because what ends up happening is, there's the classic, we've come to help you or find you, and I don't need your help, and whatnot. And then there's a reunion that pops up between Guardians members. But then what ends up happening in space once they pull away is that the group that is the other group, the bad group, the Dark Guardians,
yes.
That are looking for Gamora, eventually track this group and Gamora down.
Mm-hmm. Thanks to the person, Richard Rider, Nova. So I saw somebody on Twitter was like, wait, why no one ever mentioned the fact that his name is Richard Rider, Dick Rider. So anyway.
You know what I was gonna say? I'm fairly sure someone thought of that a long time ago.
Probably, but it's a thing that just haven't popped back up. But anyway, so thanks to Nova, the Dark Guardians.
I would say you spend way too much time on Twitter with these people.
I spend way too much time on Twitter, but it's such a nice place. Anyway, Nova basically unwittingly leads the Dark Guardians to the Guardians, and a throwdown commences. There's a nice little spectacular splash of them squaring off. I did like that. That was, just to start things off, and then the battle commences, and then spoiler alert.
Hold
on. Someone. I dare say you could probably say you saw this coming, but you didn't really. Somebody pays the ultimate price by saving another team member.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was the one that you could see was having some issues already. So it was like, well, you knew something was going to happen to this person.
And it's not the first time this has actually happened too.
Well, yeah, with Quill.
Yeah, in Pages of Guardians, this is very familiar.
I'll take your word for it. I'm drawing a blank at the moment.
Last volume.
Oh, probably I barely read that volume, or I barely remember anything from that volume, I should say.
This happened in the last volume. This is very familiar.
I'll take your word for it. I believe you.
So ultimately, we've got all these cosmic powered, super stupendously powered people facing off, and the Dark Guardians come out ahead, and we will see what happens with these characters in the next issue. There's still plenty to be decided when it comes to what is going to happen with what happens to the future of Thanos, because that's really the overall story of this book so far, is the fulfillment of the will of Thanos and the uploading of his consciousness to another being.
Right. Some would think, and some doesn't believe it.
Right. So that's the story that we will be following in the next issue.
And by the way, hey, guess what? There's a Thanos miniseries that I think just started or is about to start, but it's in the past.
Yeah.
And basically, you would almost say it's relevant to Infinity War, the movie. Because it's about the relationship between him and Gamora. So, whatever. So, moving right along. Magnificent Miss Marvel, and then we'll go to Rapid Fire.
All right.
So, yeah. I was about to say, well, you got Uncanny, so but I'll get to the last point I was going to make about this week when you get to that point. I enjoyed this issue a lot. Silent Ahmed again, working his magic in a different way. So, Kamala's grief stricken because she had a tiff with her parents, who didn't want her to be Miss Marvel in the war anymore. She rebelled and went out to save Bruno, and then ended up coming back home after some aliens were attacking near her house. Found out her parents turned into goo. But as we find out in this issue, what doesn't seem to be her parents, but she's still having a hard time with it, and she's kind of lashing out at folks. And Bruno, and the whole thing is being told from Bruno's point of view, who's been a long-standing sidekick of hers, which, well, I would say there's a parallel to Genki but he didn't do the same thing that Genki did in Miles's book, because there was that one part of Miles's book where he was like, "Yeah, dude, I make your web fluid, man. Shoot me some respect." I'm like, "Dang, Genki, lean on your man like that." But a similar thing, but not necessarily the same thing, happens in this book where Kamala kind of lashes out, but they kind of handle it slightly different. So anyways, but Kamala and Bruno are on the surface of the parent. They finally end up finding her. The short story is, and per MMO / adventure game parlance, a new quest appears.
Right. It was all a test.
Yes.
I feel like I could hear Steve Rogers in the background, like Skinny Steve, say out loud, "This is the test."
Yes, which apparently she passed. Which and I admittedly, when this part came up, I totally forgot that they had already front loaded this in the start of I think in the last issue, because it had been a while. Because the first issue came out like last month, so I kind of forgot about what happened. So some of the stuff was kind of in there already, where some people shows up.
Right. There's something that's going to happen off world. It's going to be in space.
Yep.
And that's where this is leading. And as Roddykat said, this was, we're at the beginning of the quest really now, because this was all a test. The first two issues of this story were the test, and now we're going into the quest part.
Yep. So she will, hopefully level up after said quest is over,
right?
And get some fat loots, as the gamer she is. So yeah, that's pretty much that. And now I guess we can go into rapid fire.
Rapid fire, spin it up.
Good shot. Anyway, you want to go ahead and do yours?
Sure, I will run through mine. First up is Batman number 69. This is the final story in the Nightmare arc. And it explains what we've been reading as part of a dream sequence between Batman and Catwoman. So much like Justice League number 22, this issue is pretty important, because if you did not understand up until now what was going on in this Nightmares arc, you understand now. So pick this up if you want to get the skinny on what has actually been happening over the last 4 issues.
It was all a dream.
Exactly. But ultimately, it's a way of breaking the Batman yet again. Next up, Daredevil number 4. This is a potential click of the week for me. This has a phenomenal cliffhanger last page. It's going to be funny to see how this story will fit in with what's happening in the current run of the Punisher comic. There's no spoilers here. The Punisher's on the cover of this book. He popped up in the last issue. This is just the latest confrontation between the Punisher and Daredevil, and it is a lot of fun. We covered everything else I read, so I'm going to jump to Uncanny X-Men number 16. Matt Rosenberg makes some weird X-Men roster moves in this issue. We discussed one of them off the air in our group chat during the day as I was reading this book. I feel like maybe there's a little too much going on, even for an X-Men fan like me. And unfortunately, at least on panel, we see one character get got who was a secondary character throughout the 90s X-Men and the aughts X-Men. Actually, come to think of it, not even the 90s. Well, I guess late 90s and early aughts X-Men. And another character possibly get got who has been around for a long time. And that's it for me.
So, and which will bring me before I get into mine. So if you've been paying attention this whole time, that means that the death toll this week is at least up to 4.
Right.
For this week.
Right. Just in the books that we talked about, because obviously...
Yeah, there could be a couple more we don't even know about, but yeah, this has been a high death toll week in Marvel comics specifically. But I'm like, wow, that's ridiculous.
Right, there's been a lot of that going around this week.
Well, yeah, and then kind of in general with Marvel, because they've been like we said prior to the show, like they've been offing folks to varying degrees left and right. Anywho, some of which have come back, but still.
Some of whom are still digesting. Oh no!
There is that also.
Shout out to Jason Aaron, who totally threw us for a loop with that one.
Yeah, like I said, he has fun with his toys, so it's appreciated. So now, I get into my books, and we'll come on, don't do that. There we go. Start off with Teen Titans number 29. This is I think the penultimate chapter of the Terminus contract, whatever they're calling this. Basically, Deathstroke's involved, so it's got to be some sort of contract. And what would you think would you expect would happen? So the thing about this volume is, or at least the last good part of this volume is that Damon's been locking up folks underneath their hideout. The bad guys underneath their hideout. Finally caught Deathstroke, basically, and this has been kind of a thing between this book and Deathstroke in the last couple of issues. And of course, what we expected to happen, what I expected to happen at the beginning of this whole thing, did actually happen at the end of this book. Everybody broke out. Well, basically, Deathstroke had already broken out, but he's sticking around because he wanted to teach Damian a lesson. Like he actually said as much, but. Like I said, everybody else broke out by some unknown reasons, and now the Titans are in trouble. Teen Titans, excuse me, not to be confused with the other Titans book that's gone. Shuri number 7. This is the second part of the team up between Shuri, Miss Marvel, and Miles Morales Spider-Man. This was kind of an interesting read. I enjoyed this little team up. I kind of wish to see these folks team up again, but basically. This kid, who at the beginning of the issue, we see his background. They took pretty great lengths to get this dude's background up until now, which he had a good home until his dad got locked up, and then they started falling on hard times, and then his mom started working 2 jobs and working a whole lot. But then he was like, well, this kid's kind of smart, so he read up and started studying on how to do something. He took the work of one Dr. Franken Hall, aka Graviton, made a glove out of it, and wanted to do a job so he can get some money to help his family, which didn't quite go well because the tech was, while good, was kind of faulty. Leading up into this issue, Graviton comes in to take his tech back, and finds out, hey, the kid's actually got some things going for him. But then, like I said, our team up, including this kid, has to stop Graviton from using this tech, and they do, and it all ends all nice and neat, and especially with the kid who looks like he's in juvie, but is sure he's going to look after him. And apparently he has ties to Miles Morales, although they took lengths to mention that up front, but they don't really use that to any effect. Like, even when Miles shows up, he doesn't act like he doesn't even know the kid. But then, I guess you couldn't make that known otherwise, whatever. But anyway, so that's the nice and neat end of this little two-parter, and then the next issue is going to go back into the main story. Transformers number 3. So so basically the crux of this one is Megatron makes his own security squad out of some familiar folks under the Transformers logo, including Soundwave, which is my favorite Decepticon. That's my boy, Soundwave. He's the man. Anyway, Rubble, the new little Transformer that Bumblebee is mentoring, is a little distracted because of recent events and trying to figure out what he wants to do or something. I don't know. And all the while, Orion Pax, aka the well, who Orion Pax ends up going to be. So I don't have to say, huh? He's
the precursor.
Exactly. So he's trying to deal with everything that's been going on with the Brainstorm's murder, Megatron's attack, and trying to quell things with that. And so he goes on a little walkabout to talk to some folks, as he tends to do. And that's pretty much how this issue goes. West Coast Avengers number 10. This is the last issue of that. This fine book. Sad to see it go. Let's see, but we found out something. Well, at least I found out some things because I ended up reading 3 issues, this and the last couple of issues prior, leading up to this. But basically, they were going up against vampires, and they finished that job, and all with the help of Novar, aka Marvel Boy, and that gets all squared away. But before things end, we found out, or at least we found out last issue, something that I had been speculating when the whole volume, when the book started, in that Fuse, aka Johnny Watts, and his sister Ramon are both Wakandan, and we found this out. This issue, and not only that, but they're both powered. Like, we already knew he had his power, but she has also had a latent power that ends up getting used. And she also gets her superhero name after this. So, what happens going forward with those crew, we will see. But nevertheless, like the rest of the issue gets nice and neatly wrapped up. And, I like how a gag from the first issue ends up being the one that cancels them, aka their little reality TV project, aka, and also the book. So that was that. But that was kind of fun. But sad to see it goes. Last but not least, Star Wars TIE Fighter number 1, not based on the video game, sadly.
Old school.
Yeah, I love that game, which you can find on GOG. But yeah, so this is basically the first issue about this crew called the squad called the Shadow Wing, which is a group of a TIE Fighter squad. And they end up taking a mission that seems like it's an escort mission, which nobody likes escort missions in video games specifically. But apparently they don't here either. But this mission ends up going slightly south, or as one sound effect Agent 70 has on hand would suggest. Yep. And it's not even a rebellion. Instead, well, it may or may not be a rebellion trap because it seemed like it's coming from the ship they were trying to escort. So we'll figure out what's that about. But we meet the squad. We find out what's going on with them. We also find out that there may or may not be a rebellion sympathizer amongst the group, or at least someone tied to the group. So we'll see how that's going to play out. And this is a 5-issue miniseries, so it's worth reading because it's not necessarily rehashing anything that we didn't already know. So, and that is it. And now we are going to the clicks of the week. And we already have 2 from our erstwhile comrades. We have, I'm going to pull up the back chat because there is some notes on this, sort of. From Dirt, we have Gideon Falls, number 12. He says, the mind-bending story just jumped 3 rails into crazy awesome territory. It's the Twilight Zone episode that keeps on giving, which there was a new target to. I should have asked if that was the new Twilight Zone or the classic Twilight Zone. Probably doesn't matter. And for Tim, Naomi number 4 is his click. And he basically says the art is awesome in it, and he's intrigued to find out what her urgent is next issue. I've been kind of curious about this book, but it's also a Bendis book. But I also know that David F. Walker is helping out with it, so that might be the thing that would help me get onto the book.
The Portland, Oregon connection.
Yeah, no, there's a whole commune going on. Speaking of, and Kelly Thompson of West Coast Adventures, also in Portland.
I was going to add that I don't know if you were at your local comic shop on Wednesday, but prior to Wednesday, some news about Naomi number 4 had hit the internets, and speculation was rising about this book, and it rapidly sold out in some of the local shops. I did not go to Midtown this week, but I'm fairly certain there was a run on number 4 of Naomi this week.
I saw an article. I did not read it because I figured like I wasn't reading the book at all. Like I said, I had curiosity just about it, but I'm kind of scared because it's Benders, and he has a tendency not to write certain characters and groups well, and that But I am still curious about it nonetheless. So I don't know. I may check this out. And I did kind of, like I said, I did kind of pass that news. I just didn't read it. So we'll see. That being said, so we now have our own clicks, which during this time of stalling, you would think I would have been thinking about that while I was talking.
I got mine already. That's me. That's War of the Realms number 2.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
I mean, listen, I had a bunch of potential clicks this week. This was an excellent week of books.
Yeah, this was definitely loaded, if anything else. So it's good that there was actually something worth it in that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I like that one. Man, it's kind of tough because, like yourself, there was definitely a couple of good ones. And that's definitely at the top of the list. You know what? I'm gonna have to go along with it because that Miles book was good, but War of the Realms just kind of had there was a lot.
What did the kids say today? It's a little extra right now.
Yeah. Hey, hell, even Avengers Go No Roads Home, that one was like, that was, for what it, even though it ended up kind of on the neat side, that was a lot with it. And like you said, it's quite amazing.
Yeah, that amazing 19.HU issue this week was pretty good.
Yes.
It was pretty engrossing. Spencer and Bacalo together, told a great story.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to go with War of the Realms, and shout out to Miles, because that was pretty decent, and all the other books. That being said, we're going to move along to the ad.
Our first ad read of the night is for Wink, the personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your tastes and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. Doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through CSPN. Do it today.
Styles upon styles upon styles is what they have. And now we go to the cinematic news.
The news.
Okay, folks, we're gonna try to go through this slightly fast, but you know what? 2 things. There's a lot of Star Wars news, so buckle the freak up. And 2, well, hey, there's a lot of it, like I said. So again, so we're going to start off with cinematic news, as we tend to do, like we always do about this time. And there's 2 pages, by the way. If I didn't.
Oh, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, on both.
Yikes!
Yeah. So hey, we're gonna get to this. We can do this. Starting off with Avengers white in-game suits have a name. It's not what you think. It is actually what I think, because those are totally the Guardians of the Galaxy suits. But anyway, apparently, according to Kevin Feige, we call them teen suits.
Ah, that's funny. Okay.
That's, yeah, it is. So that was news, but not necessarily news. But yeah, like I said, I believe those are if I'm not mistaken, that is definitely the style of the old Guardians suits, or not old, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's a cover. I feel like I'm going to use that cover of the, Quill and the Guardians for next week. Anyway, moving right along.
Right. So apparently, Marvel Studios is hinting that Avengers Endgame may be the end of Thor's journey. What?
I mean, let's face it. I mean, Endgame is going to be the end of a couple of those
Exactly.
stories, so this is not that big of a news.
Whoa, what was that?
Actually, well, that was my 20.
That's funny.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes you got to roll not 20, and I didn't. But anyway, so yeah, so this sounds like this is hinting to if this article says so, and this is, I dare say,
right? It's a promo video that was put out on Twitter where they do flashbacks of Thor.
Yeah. And I think I don't know if it's so much of a report or if it's something that ended up possibly happening. Like, I thought it was
a theory. Right, it's a theory at this point.
Yeah, it's a theory that's saying he might end up being the All-Father. Which, sure.
Okay.
Anyway, moving right along.
Oh, like we're taking Jason Aaron's Thor all the way to the to the conclusion, right?
I mean, might as well. I mean, hell, it's not outside the realm of possibilities that they would do it, because they've drawn heavily from stuff.
Right.
But anyway,
next up.
Oh, it's me. Russo Brothers and Thanos demand silence for. Matter of fact, I'm going to take the next one after this.
Sure.
Russo Brothers and Thanos demand silence for Avengers Endgame spoilers. For the love of God, people, do not spoil this movie.
Seriously.
For anyone out there, chill. But anyway,
so if you're tempted to do it, don't do it.
Yes, please don't be a dick. I should edit that out, but I won't. So yeah, so the Russo,
it's just our PG-13 rating. I'm sorry, but go on.
Right. Well, you know, we're allowed one, I think, something like that. We've never established that. So yeah, on Twitter, the Russo brothers had wrote a letter, took a picture of it, and then posted it on Twitter, because that's what you do. And I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but basically it's a letter to the fans and say, hey, don't spoil it. And good
luck. Similar to Infinity War.
Yes. But it's also basically saying, like, look, everything comes down to this. You know, we want everybody to be able to enjoy it. I'm paraphrasing. So please don't spoil the movie.
Yeah, keep it to yourself.
We know there's some jerks that will do it because they're spiteful behind people, and then there's already leaked footage out, supposedly leaked footage out there. But let people have their this.
Right.
And the next up is in regards to that, CBR in their wisdom, which as a person on the outside of this, it's like it's kind of funny that this article is coming from them. How to avoid Avengers Endgame spoilers online anyway, and they basically go through, they make an article on how you can attempt to not be spoiled by Avengers Endgame by your own means.
Right. We're a week out. You might actually want to disconnect from. I know people that have disconnected from their social media feeds.
Yeah, or muting every other key phrase.
Right. Or at the very least, just updating and not looking at their feeds.
Right. Yeah, if you have lists of where, even lists may not save you because, like I said, I follow a bunch of, I have 2 accounts to take account of. So I have, like the news account. So I kind of have to look at that stuff, and some of that stuff is going to be spoiler. And sometimes news outlets like to throw stuff out there the day of when things happen that ends up spoiling things.
Right.
Like something from potentially this week. But, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, that is that. But so be safe out there, folks.
All righty. So next up, Spider-Man: Far From Home has gotten a new earlier release date. So it's set to hit theaters 3 days earlier than previously scheduled. Sony Pictures announced this. It was originally scheduled for Friday, July 5th. They've now scheduled it to open on a Tuesday, July 2nd. That's weird.
Right, because of the I get it. This the 4th of July weekend. Well, actually, I still don't get it because that's like, I'm like, you would think like, wait, 4th of July people are going to be off. That's going to be a prime time to.
Right, but they also, I guess, have some sympathy for the folks who are working in the movie theater on July 4th. So
yeah, well,
because they don't want to have that initial crush because opening night is technically Thursday night. So I guess they want to have those people enjoy their fireworks displays and whatnot.
Well, I'm pretty sure the theaters themselves don't care about that, but
right,
yeah,
but that's my guess. So
yeah, we don't know, but so that's going to be interesting for ticket sales for certain.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, we won't have to worry about movie protocol on that, I guess.
Well, the thing is, the July 4th holiday is going to fall on a Thursday. So we would be probably postponing the show for at least a day.
Maybe. We'll see.
Depending on where we are, depending on what our plans are. So
right. Like I said, we'll see. We got time for that. Stay tuned, folks. Next up, excuse me, Marvel on Disney Plus. Everything we learned about the MCU, in particular, what's going to be on the streaming service, which we talked about last week, is going to have a nice price point, and everybody's jumping on, including already getting rid of stuff. Apparently, some people are already canceling stuff, and the thing's not even out until for a few months. So I think a lot of the stuff we kind of already talked about. So there's not really much to label. We know all the MCU. We all know all the movies are going to be on there. We know all the Disney movies are going to be there, that kind of stuff. But as far as the MCU is concerned, and we already talked about the fact that a few of the shows are going to be on there. I think we actually talked about all of them. But including the fact that, so the shows, including like the Falcon one, the Loki one, the Vision and Scarlet Witch, all of those are basically going to be in continuity. Which, sure, why wouldn't it be? They'll all be MCU quality according to this article, which means they'll be the same quality as the movies, and some of them will continue storylines that the movies have started, and some will be totally original. So basically, it's Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. if Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. was actually more connected than it is,
and had a bigger budget.
I was going to say that first, and I stopped myself.
That's a shame. But anyway,
yeah.
I was going to say next up, also on Marvel Studios,
Yes.
also in Marvel Studios news on Disney Plus, they revealed the first What If story that's going to be there. It's going to be animated, and it's going to be the story of what if Peggy Carter had received the Super Soldier Serum. What if Steve Rogers had gotten a suit of armor?
Right. So apparently, yeah, the What If season, we speculated on if it was going to be animated or not, and we finally found out that it is indeed going to be animated because that's possibly the best way they're going to do that. It would be interesting if they had been live action, but I did not expect it for that to be the case. So yeah, the Peggy Carter picking up the shield. That's weird. Which is a thing we have seen in comics, but to see it played out in a What If, I want to say again because I feel like that's been done before in the comics. But nevertheless, that being the case is a thing. So look forward to that when that actually happens. Speaking of other shows on Disney Plus, Alan Tudyk is back as K2SO in the Rogue One TV show. Now, which when we first talked about, we hadn't talked about it. We knew that Cassian was going to, Diego Luna was reprising his Cassian role, but there was no mention of the fact of whether K2SO is going to be in it. And guess what? He finally is. People were upset about that, the fact that they hadn't, that hadn't been cast at the time that we're talking about. And granted, it's been a while. So the fact that they finally said, hey, yeah, he's back in it as that. And obviously this is going to take place prior to Rogue One, because we know how that ended up.
Right. All right. Next up, Disney Plus's Star Wars show, The Mandalorian, is going to launch on day one of the availability of the Disney Plus service. So that's going to be available right away.
So, and this is when I tell you, as I said last week, Star Wars Celebration was last week. In fact, it started while the night we started taping. And as I told you then, there was going to be a lot of news. So a lot of this is going to be Star Wars heavy, as I said earlier. And a lot of this is coming out of that, starting with this. Okay. And on that front, Carl Weathers joined Star Wars The Mandalorian.
Explains Jackson.
Exactly. That's exactly what I saw. I was watching the panel of the Mandalorian panel, and as soon as he got on stage, I was like, Action Jackson's going to be in the Mandalorian.
Or Chubbs from Happy Gilmore.
I know, right? Or Apollo Creed. I mean, duh.
Exactly.
Which is what I saw a couple of people kind of go directly there. I'm like, come on, he's done other stuff than Apollo Creed, but I get it because Creed is still on people's minds.
Yeah, I was about to say Creed brought the character back to prominence.
Right. And I couldn't remember his name from Predator because I was gonna
Dylan.
Was it Dylan? Yeah.
Dylan. Yeah.
He gave away their position, and Mac was gonna bleed him real slow, leave him there. Anyway, so in addition to
you son of a anyway,
yes, go watch the original Predator, is great. So yes, his one thing we didn't get out of this panel is the spelling of some names of a couple of characters, because I guess I'll go ahead and take this next one while we're at it, because Carl Weathers is going to be in it, Gina Carano is going to be in it as a character named Cara Dune. We didn't get spelling on that, but apparently there's, that's still questionable, but apparently somebody's gotten that. So yes, Gina Carano of, I guess she was a Fast and Furious fame of late, I guess. I don't know.
MMA fame.
And MMA, well, yeah, I mean, that would famously, yes, but I'm saying as far as her acting career is concerned, which is looking kind of nice on there, too, by the way. And Pablo, oh shit, what was his name? The guy who's actually playing the Mandalorian. So it was a panel with them and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. You know who that name from folks, all is in a panel. And that panel is in, I believe that I might not have put that panel in the clickbait notes, but whatever, it's out there on the Star Wars channel. So yeah, that being said, we get the first Mandalorian images that were basically of the people that I just talked about, including this one with Gina Carano, gun-toting Gina Carano. And there's a nice little meme that started from this picture, which I won't go into, but was kind of amusing. There's Carl Weathers. His name is Grief something. I totally forgot his name because I just bypassed it in the other notes. But yes, his name is Grief. not spelled the actual way. And then there's the Mandalorian. Oh, it's all this glory, looking like Boba Fett. And there's the title treatment. So the show from the pages and from the panel, they also showed some footage, which actually looks like it got leaked out there, but they didn't show the live stream. But apparently it's out there leaked for the time. So if you can find it, then yeah, good luck with you. I neglected to watch it.
I can wait.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I was like, you know what? I would like to see it because I think it was basically, it seemed like it was a trailer for the show. So as someone mentioned, it was like they neglected not to show a trailer for a show they want people to see, something like that. But I was like, you know what? It'll be fine. It'll get out there eventually. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's that. Next up. Oh, aren't you lucky?
So Star Wars, the Clone Wars Season 7 trailer was shown at Celebration, and it shows the return of a Jedi or a non-Jedi, actually.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I was about to say, I'm actually delving into a little bit of not spoiler territory for you. It's some spoiler territory if you haven't watched the entirety of.
I'd say the show's like 5 or 6 years old or something like at this point. If you statute of limitations on that's kind of up.
Right. Plus, so there's going to be there's going to be a 12 episode season on Disney Plus of Clone Wars.
Right. Plus, I mean, Rebels. Come on.
Right. So whatchamacallit? No, I was just going to say, so there's a character that is the focus, that was the focus of the trailer, and I'm going to click the spoiler bell. So you've been forewarned. I rang the bell. The character that was highlighted in this trailer for the new season 7 of Clone Wars was Ahsoka Tano.
Again, fan favorite. You know, people, I don't know too many people. Well, I know people who don't like Ahsoka, but those people are stupid and bad people. But but yeah, so fans went crazy. The actors who plays Ahsoka Tano, which I do have that panel in the show notes. You get a chance to check it out. Went crazy on it. Like I'm looking forward to this because more Clone Wars is awesome. They got the band back together as one of the actors said. And it was kind of dope. So yeah, even though it's 12 episodes, it's gonna be pretty dope. I think I'm trying to remember what season 6 was. It also raises some questions, but I won't even get to that right now because it was like, okay, we saw her in Rebels and we saw what got up into that, but it was like, well, it feels kind of tacked on, but at the same time, I can't say that. If you've seen the trailer, you may or may not get what I mean. But then again, if you've seen the trailer and you don't care if that is the case or not, because you just want more Clone Wars and more of them.
Right.
And more Ahsoka. So, it is what it is. Next up, so watch Kelly Marie Tran react to a standing ovation at Star Wars Celebration, which was dope because Kelly Marie Tran, who plays who was basically being targeted by jerks on the internet, self-proclaimed Star Wars fans, but whatever. Who played Rose Tico in Last Jedi, who I thought was dope. She had a great interaction when she came on stage at Celebration, which she's been known to be a little. I don't want to say emotional because but her energy is great. That's all I'm saying. So, and she was very touched by the standing ovation that she received when she was at a Celebration, and it was great to see.
Alrighty.
Next up,
the teaser trailer for Star Wars Episode 9 dropped.
Oh, by the way,
during Celebration.
Oh, by the way, lest you forgot, there's a new Star Wars trailer. Yes.
Right. So Christmas time this year, there's going to be a Star Wars movie in theaters, and the trailer revealed the subtitle of Star Wars Episode 9. Spoiler alert for the silly people that are not online and don't see these things.
Wow. Yeah.
It's the Rise of Skywalker.
Which is a questionable title. Given
it could mean a lot of things. That's the thing.
That's true. I was going to say that, but it's still a questionable title given what we already know and given, whatever. It's still there's still some question to it. I'm like, wait. But yes, like you said, there's it could go a whole lot of ways.
Right. So we're not, like I think it's pointless to try to figure out what that means at this point.
No, it's not.
Just I see the thing is I choose not to delve into conjecture regarding this. So
I didn't say I was going to do it, but no,
yeah. But that's just that's my attitude. I'm definitely wait and see. I think
great.
had it been something darker, I would have been kind of concerned. But I think at the end of the day, but what I was going to say is at the end of the day, the middle trilogy, what turned into the middle trilogy, had a positive trilogy ender. So,
and they I was going to say they usually do, but I guess you can't say that about the prequels.
Exactly, that's my point. Like what turned into the first trilogy, what turned into the prequel trilogy, the last one didn't exactly have an uplifting title. So,
well, unless you like the dark side, then it actually
exactly.
So this is supposedly the finality of the whole ball of wax for the Skywalker clan, supposedly, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Well, not a whole bunch of other stuff, but we will see this thing. Did you watch the trailer?
I did.
So gifts and all that have been made about. Granted, there wasn't much to it, but there was enough in there. Including a character that that hasn't been seen that is now showing up, and including another meme which was kind of sad because said character based on the Solo movie was like well actually there was a meme going around. It was like basically this person wanted their ship back, and there was a over my dead body reference.
Oh right. Oh, that's rough. I thought there was going to be a Colt 45 reference.
No. You know what? I'm pretty sure I would be surprised if that doesn't happen by the time the movie comes out.
But anyway,
yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I actually did. I think I mentioned on a show I did sit down and watch Solo. It popped up on cable, so I saw it. So
yeah, which it's not a bad movie. It got it's.
I thought it was a little. Oh no, it's on Netflix. It was a little. I thought it was a little. I thought the criticism was a little harsh. It wasn't terrible.
Agreed. Yeah, but these anthology stories, they were seemingly hit or miss, but they've been all right. Anyway, so yeah, this is the sequel ends here, and it's gonna happen.
All right, next up.
Yeah, Star Wars movies will take a hiatus to reset following Episode 9, according to. Well, shouldn't be a surprise because I'm like, you know what. This is coming from Bob Iger, and I say that because of the next story.
All right, so our next story is that yes, Lucasfilm might be developing something for Knights of the Old Republic. So, what is this might be that they're developing?
So basically, they seem so. Knights of the Old Republic is a classic video game made by BioWare. So, just in case some people did not know, based in Star Wars back in the Old Republic days, which before well before the prequels. There's also an MMO that's out that's kind of whatever. So they're thinking about doing something live action with that, potentially, possibly.
Right.
They're quote unquote developing something to look at. Doesn't mean that they're actually going to do it, but there's something they're looking into it. So that was from Kathleen Kennedy. So that does not negate what that last article was suggesting, but it still says like, yeah, okay, they still got things that could be possibly on the table. Oh well, we didn't talk about the trailer, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. You've seen it, and if you're a fan, you've already parsed it to death.
Right.
Next up, moving away from Star Wars for now. Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn and Renee Montoya team up in new set photos. So yes, apparently some intrepid paparazzi or whatever on the set took some pictures of one Rosa Perez, who is Renee Montoya, which I think we already knew that. We did know that actually. We did know that because we talked about it before. So yeah, there's some set photos for her, as you can see here. She's not talking to Mookie.
Nah. Spooky.
Yeah. So there's that. I thought Margot Robbie was supposed to be on Nintendo, but I don't see her. Regardless, that is that. So yeah, apparently that's still a thing that is going on.
All right. So apparently we can actually see John Cena's alleged role in the new Suicide Squad movie. So he's in talks to take on a role in James Gunn's Suicide Squad, allegedly to take over for Dave Bautista, who's like, nah, man, I don't need to do this. I'm back as I
am so glad I was totally gonna mention that. I was like, the only reason why he took this movie because Gunn wasn't on Guardians anymore. So now that's not the case anymore. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But according to this, or according to allegedly, according to this article, the actor who has been actually busy, but apparently he couldn't do the role because he's allegedly busy due to his busy schedule. But come on, we know.
Yes, exactly. We understand, Dave. We understand.
And there was also another rumor, and I don't know how true this is, but there was also another rumor saying that he didn't want to take it because of the fact Cena was in it.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any credence to it, but I just kind of saw that in passing somewhere.
All right. I would just add that he's under consideration to play Peacemaker in the DC Extended Universe film.
Right. And I saw that picture and I thought that was Orion for a second. I was like, wait, that's not. How does what? But yes.
You got me.
Yeah, I don't know that much about Suicide Squad, so and I don't care that much for Cena. So moving right along. Wonder Woman and Jessica Cruz shine in Justice League versus the Fatal Five Clubs, which, by the way, I think is out now.
Yep, I saw a couple of minutes. I saw like a good chunk of it today.
I want to get this. So new Justice League movie, which apparently brings back the Justice League cast. So
for the most part,
yes.
Like Tim Daly's not there.
Well,
but,
yeah,
but most Kevin Conroy, Kevin Conroy is there. Susan Eisberg, who plays Wonder Woman, is there.
Phil Lamar is there, and a bunch of other people.
So, right, yeah. And Tara Strong, who does a lot of sub voices too. So
yes, she's everywhere. But the new animated movie, it's the same vein. It looks to be the same quality as the other stuff, so it's probably going to be good.
It's not bad. Like it's on DC Universe as well. Those of us who are lucky to get our review copies of it,
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
It's on DC Universe.
Oh, sweet. Well, I'm gonna go watch that.
There you go. I thought you knew.
I did not. I haven't looked at the thing in a minute, so I haven't really been on what's on there until I actually was getting some stuff.
Told me about it on Wednesday, so I checked.
Well, there's also speaking of Wednesdays, so something else happened. We'll get to that later. So yeah, that looks good. Just cruise, have at it. Next.
All right, this is me. Arrow bids goodbye to a major character, and no, it's not Felicity. So Arrow is saying goodbye to Laurel Lance again.
Yeah,
in the Lost Canary, the latest episode. Well, your notes let me read it that way because I don't watch this. So,
well, that's not my notes. That's audio.
Okay.
Cool. So, but Laurel Lance is who has been on the show and been off the show and back on the show again. It's now back off the show, but it's about to end anyway, so it doesn't matter. So apparently there's been things going on because so we don't have to get to it, especially if you haven't been watching it. Next up, BD Wong cast as the Flash's Godspeed. So I guess this is another Reverse Flash type character. I don't know.
Okay.
So apparently the casting was revealed in Tuesday's Godspeed episode of the show, and there's been things going on. BD Wong is no stranger to characters because he's been in Gotham and other things. He's probably voiced some characters, so hey, it's probably good pick.
I was about to say you can kind of cover the next one too.
Sure.
Like what you just described is pretty much the story as well.
Yeah, basically, the Flash reveals the other speedster's post-crisis status. So apparently, and I haven't been keeping up with the Flash either. So, but apparently, there's a flash forward sequence, and some speedsters are not around, and you're not gonna be around next year.
No.
And apparently, since the Flash disappeared, some speedsters also did. That's what happened, and gives credence to a crisis.
Okay. So let me take the next two because they're kind of
all
weird.
means.
So apparently on DC Universe, the app that we were just talking about, they put out a first look for Swamp Thing, who makes your heart sing. It makes everything groovy. It brought the swampy creature to life, but apparently production on it has shut down unexpectedly, and they're shortening the episode run to 10 from the announced 13 episode run.
And actually, it seems like they've stopped wholeheartedly. So yeah, they shut down. They basically shut down. So I think so. One happened after the other one. They cut the episodes and then it shut down.
Right.
So apparently Virginia Madsen posted and deleted on Instagram saying she was sad about the decision about the cutting. I'm assuming. I don't know about the thing. And there's also speculation, according to this article, that they also stopped because of. As this article says, they're evaluating the future of its DC Universe streaming service. So that seems like kind of a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stopping a show's production because of a site, aka apps direction, seems a little bit of a stretch, but it's possible. I don't know. Regardless, is the thing. Next up, speaking of
what I was going to add though is just very quickly is that the Netflix Marvel shows sometimes suffered from a little bit of, I'm not sure if the term is correct, but kind of a bloated narrative where you could have told some of those stories in 10 episodes, and a lot of the middle episodes turned into not necessarily filler, but just not very good. When the season was 13 episodes long. So
right. And some have argued that the Defenders could have used a little expanding because it was only 8.
Right, exactly. So that could have used 2 more episodes to flesh it out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So, just balance, folks, balance.
Mm-hmm.
DC's Universe's Stargirl adds Hina Khan, as reported by Newsarama. So Creep shows Hina Khan. Wait, is this like the original Creep show? I don't. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Khan's reported role is of an unnamed character from DC Comics. Numerous members of the Justice Society and their enemies have already been cast, suggesting she could be another member. I guess Stargirls is still on track for 2020.
Okay. Speaking of the DC Universe app, it's now available on Xbox One.
Yes, and I did not know this until I think Tim had tweeted about it like earlier today or yesterday, one of the two. So I'm like, well, shoot, I'm going to go check this out. Yay! So, and if you have, you can, because I think this was from a couple of days ago anyway. So just whatever. So yeah, it's rolled out. No word whether it's going to be on PS4 yet. It should be soon, hopefully.
You would think.
Maybe? Possibly. Yeah, didn't say anything about here, but yeah, so it's on a console now. That's important if you have Xbox, so that's cool. I'm gonna go try it out and I'll let you know. Next up, Shazam's Mary Marvel says she has a 5-movie deal.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I said. I'm like, there's gonna be 5 Shazam movies, or are you talking DCU type business? Which that sounds more likely.
I was gonna say, like, we've only ever seen these contracts come to fruition when it comes to Marvel,
right?
Like, what's funny? What was it? There was always speculation about
Sebastian Stan taking over the Shield.
Yes, thank you. No, I was about to say I couldn't remember Bucky's the actor behind Bucky. His real name. Sebastian Stan had like a 10
9. He had a 9-movie deal.
A 9-movie deal, but think about how many movies he's already been in terms of the Avengers movies. So those add up quick. But
yeah, he started as opposed to the other folks. He started later. So
right, but if you think about it, he started Winter Soldier and he appeared in the next Cat movie, appeared in the 2 Avengers movies after that, and Black Panther.
Well, he was in the first Avengers movie. I mean, first Cap movie too, but still, But that's when we found out.
Exactly. Yeah. So add on even that. I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. So, so that adds up quickly, and it's kind of hard to figure out how her deal would add up. So
right, and he's going to be in this that Winter Soldier Falcon deal. So
exactly.
If
Well,
that's
that might be right. I was about to say that might be a different contract. So
right. So we'll see about that. But yeah, we don't know how this adds up as it pertains to the DC side of it, because it's kind of unprecedented.
Next up, Masters of the Universe movie release date has been delayed to 2020. Some of you may be sad about this. I'm not, because if they delay it and do better work on it, then good.
If you had cued the crickets, it would have pretty much gave you my answer.
Okay.
All right, sure. Next up, The Boys teaser trailer gives an uncensored. Wait, did I not? It doesn't matter. The Boys teaser trailer gives an uncensored glimpse at Amazon Prime's Video's coming show. So, The Boys is a comic live action comic adaptation of the book that I have nothing about. Excuse me. According to this, it claimed that it would out Preacher, and I've never read Preacher, so that's great. So yeah, apparently, it's there, folks. And I've seen some people be like, "Hey, that's a great trailer. I'm looking forward to the show." So good on them, I guess.
Hey, it's on Amazon Prime Video.
Yep. I mean, I'll probably check it out, I guess, even though I haven't really checked out that much that's been on there. So we'll see. Next
up, Star Trek Picard has added Alison Pill, Harry Treadaway, and Issa Briones as regular feature players.
Yeah,
in undisclosed roles.
Yes, I saw that name Treadaway, and I thought about that song by Hathaway. What is love, baby? Don't hurt me. Okay. So yeah, there's that.
Oh no.
You're welcome. Halo TV series cast its Master Chief, and I know what you're saying. That is not comic book related. Yes, it is, because there was a Halo comic book. Shut up. I think this is Liev Schreiber's brother. Am I correct on that?
You got me.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. He's going to be Master Chief. Showtime's doing. I think they did the other Halo series also. So the one that actually Luke Cage, Mike Coulter was on, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was maybe direct to video first and whatever. Regardless, it doesn't matter. They're doing another Halo show, and and it's going to be on Showtime, and they got somebody to cast him as the main dude. Next.
Oh, so there's a second trailer for the Hobbs and Shaw movie that's coming out this summer or late spring. Has dropped, and it shows a big battle sequence. It dropped on Dwayne Johnson's Instagram as well. That's where I watched it. Yeah, it's
looks like the rundown.
Yeah, exactly. And the marketing's played up the relationship, romance you decide between the pair in the film. And my final thought on this, you know what it is. #Justice for Han.
Yes, indeed. Which we were wow. Yeah, that is such a turn. Anyway, but that's another topic for another treasure edition, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, as all this stuff keeps moving forward, we'll see how it develops. Yeah.
Yeah, really. I still haven't seen 8 yet. So it's I don't know.
You'll understand my ire after you watch 8.
Oh, okay. Well, I've heard some bumming things about 8, but some of it may or not have had to do with the passing of Paul Walker, and some of it may have to do with just like, what the hell are they doing?
Right.
Yeah. So I'll report back when it gets to that point. Marvel's The Eternals adds Train to Busan's actor Ma Dong-seok. Excuse me. I've never seen Train to Busan, but I've heard things about it. Good, bad, I don't know what to say about it, but I've heard it's a thing. It is a thing to see. Not in a bad way, but it sounds kind of brutal. Regardless, he will make his American acting debut in The Eternals. He will join Angelina Jolie and Kumail Nanjiani, as we talked about previously. Don't know who he's going to be. Probably an Eternal, if I were to hazard a guess. Next up,
Fox series The Gifted has been canceled, so it's officially come to an end. The network has canceled the series over a month after the premiere of the season 2 finale, which will now serve as the final episode of the entire series.
I'm gonna go ahead and say you go ahead and take this next one.
Mouse Guard, the movie, has been canceled by Disney. There's a report out that the movie that had been under the Fox banner has been passed on by Disney executives, saying that it wasn't a good fit, but the producers of the movie are looking to move it to other possible studios, including Netflix. So
they didn't want these mice to interfere with their mouse.
That's the obvious kind of take on this, because how many mice can
well, I mean, to be fair, they have Ratatouille, so that's not really I mean, it's a rat and not a mouse.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, I sort of understood it, but I sort of didn't, because I thought that this would be perfect for that tween audience.
Well, so basically,
there.
Yeah, so this is in the midst of the slashing, burning that Disney's. That's probably a little harsh. That's doing with Fox properties. They've already like even when the deal first dropped, finalized, Fox 2000, which gave home to like Hidden Figures and a bunch of other movies. I think want to say that this was probably part of that too. I'm not sure. Got killed in the process. So yeah, it's a whole thing. So hopefully this bounces back in other places, maybe Netflix. I as I said in our back channel, Netflix probably seems the obvious place for this, and slightly which I didn't say, but slightly surprised Netflix didn't option for this in the first place. But who knows? Oh well, because it was already ongoing at Fox. So yeah. So we'll hopefully, and I know for Agent 78, hopefully this comes up somewhere.
I hope so. Mouse Guard is so awesome.
Yeah, so because I had prepared Agent 70 for this when this news dropped earlier, so I didn't want him to come into this blind. Anyway, next up, big speaking. So they dropped the Mouse Guard, but Big Hero 6 gets renewed for season 3, which it's their property, so sure. I haven't seen the show. I haven't really heard that much about it. Actually.
I've never seen the show. Love the movie.
I have not seen. Still have yet to see the movie. But yeah, I know.
Didn't you get it for free when you joined Movies Anywhere?
I want to say I might have already had it before that, but yes, I got it some kind of way. I felt like I might have actually bought it before that, but I'm not even sure. But yeah, hey, that's the thing. It happens. Actually, I want to say I might have seen like 5 minutes of that show, but still, it was like, because I hadn't seen the movie, it was like, So now we're going to go over into the comic book news.
Transition.
I always do that. Start being off with. Wait, did I really just do that?
You all right? You want me to do it?
No, I'm good. So before we get into that, I want to call attention to a couple of clickbait sections. To a couple of things in the clickbait section. One notable for both of us, actually. This is why I wanted. So there's a lot of stuff in there. I got the panels, a couple of panels in there from. I did get the Mandalorian panel from Star Wars Celebration, so you can go check that out if you got the link to the show notes, which should be in the show note, which should be in the description from the show. You're welcome. There's that. Star Wars Clone Wars panel. You should definitely check that out if you're a fan. Actually, X-Fan's reaction to Star Wars Galaxy, and spoiler alert, she gets her lightsabers. You should really check that out if you're a fan of Ahsoka, because it is adorable. So she gets the lightsaber she ends up with a replica of the lightsabers she ends up with in Rebels, which are there once you sail at the Galaxy's Edge. Anyway, but the two I wanted to specifically talk about was which one I forgot to talk about last week. I found a YouTube channel that has an archive of the Japanese Spider-Man show from the 70s. Yes, folks, that's the one. If you've read Spider-Verse, you know what I'm talking about. The Spider-Man with the big mech. That is from an actual live-action television show from the 70s. basically Sentai based. I'm not even sure, but I think it might have sparked off the Super Sentai stuff as some people are leading. But you can go check that out on the YouTube, and it's in the show notes. But also, Battle of the Planets, which is not a comic book, but it is I think it was started off as a manga that ended up in an anime. Regardless, Battle of the Planets. You may know it if you're an anime fan as Science Ninja Team. Gotcha, man. It's a dope show, but people in the US know it as Battle of the Planets
because they have this great score and opening sequence.
What? Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to say that still reminds me. That still puts me in mind of Super Friends. It's ridiculous. Like every time I've heard that, I was like, "That's just a Superman's friend." Replayed. It might even been the same people doing it. I don't even know. But yes. So yeah, back in the 70s, early 80s, Battle of the Planets was basically. I remember this. It was on NBC on Saturday morning. It was basically the Science Ninja Team Gotcha Man, but American version. It was the same concept, but they changed the names and a little bit of the plot and some of the characters, a couple of characters a little bit. And this is an article basically, talking about that. From a certain point of view. So you should check that out in the clickbait section. Now we get into the news because sometimes we like to call it something like that. Marvel announces Marvel vs. Blade one shot from Arrow co-creator. So Guggenheim's at it again, folks. He's going to write what's been writing. I was about to say, well, this is first non-X-Men stuff, but it's technically still X-Men related, so it doesn't matter. Marvel Wolverine versus Blade special number 1, which is going to happen in July. I feel like something like this has already been done, but I feel this also feels like a very 90s thing. And Guggenheim, you can arguably say that Guggenheim kind of trades in that.
Yep, he definitely mines that for our story ideas.
So yeah, it's pretty apparent, but nevertheless, hey, it's a thing. We'll see this in July. Johnny Guggenheim is artist Dave Wilkins, who is primarily known for his cover work. Okay, next up.
All right, next up, giant-sized Ecstatics number 1. It's going to be a one-shot that is going to come out from the original creators, Peter Milligan and artists Michael and Laura Allred. It's going to be a postmodern toboggan ride through celebrity-obsessed culture. So that's neat. I inherited a bunch of Ecstatics books.
I was going to ask you, do you have any affinity for Ecstatics? Like, I know there's a lot of people, well, not a lot of people. I know that some people love this book.
I didn't read it. I have to admit, I didn't read it. I own a bunch of them, though.
Right.
But I definitely didn't read it coming up. I definitely did not read it coming up.
Neither did I.
Bunch.
Weirdly enough, I wasn't. When I first came across Allred's art, I wasn't that much of a fan of it. I have grown to like it, love it, but
What I was gonna say is, like, if you didn't know it from Madman,
right?
Then you were.
I did. So yeah, and I was like,
right. So like, as long as you're okay with it in Madman, then it wasn't as jarring because you just knew that was his style.
Right. And I'm seeing the cover of this, and it just reminds me of that Silver Surfer that he and Slot did.
Sure.
And old girl in that. But hey, that's his style, Next up, House of X and Powers of X first look and story details. So yeah, we get a little bit more. This video a little bit more on Hickman's upcoming run, X-Men run. That's coming up soon. I didn't go into the video because I was like, I can wait for the series to actually come out to see what's what. Plus, I'll probably take some time to catch up on X-Men if I so choose. Not that it may or may not have anything to do with it, but So next up,
heroes are going to battle different villains in this summer's Acts of Evil.
Never heard of this before. Wow. There's never been an event where this has happened before.
Right. What I was going to say, though, is aren't they doing these in annuals?
Yes, they are, because we have here Miss Marvel annual, Punisher annual, Venom annual. I think that might be just a start.
Right, so this is going to be like one of these minor events, but we'll see, how they impact future storylines, because what they're saying is, well, you never know. There might be, there might be new rivalries kindled.
I mean, I want to say that was kind of the point of Avengers in the first place. It was like they're throwing all these heroes against folks who they haven't dealt with before to see how they fare, and which, spoiler alert, they fared pretty decently in a lot of cases.
Right.
I can't remember if it went somewhere as the opening up to new matchups, but it was like, well, this is something different. And now this is that same something different with newer people. Well, people.
Right, and we discussed this last episode or the episode before at length. I definitely remember one of my favorite moments in Acts of Vengeance being the X-Men storyline, where it was basically Wolverine, Jubilee, and the reborn Psylocke against the Mandarin,
right?
And the Hand. So I thought that was a really great, way of tying in, like the East Asian characters, against the X-Men.
I feel like that was probably might have been one of the only noticeable things outside of obviously Cosmic Spider-Man.
Right.
There's that, and me being a big Avengers fan, that was that, but I totally don't remember that much about it at this point. So, yeah. But yeah, it was decent.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how this fares. But there was a phrasing, I think it was on Twitter about that. I was like, yeah, it's a fresh. I think the article might have said the word fresh new take. I'm sitting here like, it's not really fresh nor new because this has happened before.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Next up.
History of the Marvel Universe #1 first look. So this is a preview of the book that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. So you can go check it out there. That's pretty much there's nothing to be said about it until we get it in our hands.
Mm-hmm.
And which will be in July. But yes, you can see the preview for it. There's some pages for it. I feel like we may have seen this last time we talked about it too.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think so.
So, but yeah, this is that. So if you're so inclined, and check it out.
President Bartlett.
Perfect for you.
So Marvel has teased Spider-Gwen no more for Earth 65's resident web-slinger. So Marvel released a teaser image, and if you're watching online as either after we record or right now live, you will see the image that I'm referring to. It's reminiscent of the Amazing Spider-Man image. That's very similar in nature. Where the costume is discarded in an unceremonious way.
Yes.
The promo image hints that major changes are in store for Earth 65's Gwen Stacy.
Because you can't have a spider character without them dumping their suit in the trash and giving up at least once.
At least once.
I think. Wait, Miles kind of had a moment.
He had it. Mm-hmm. They already redid the cover.
Yeah,
I have a print by David Marquez.
Yeah, and I want to say the only other spider, well, Jessica might not have, but that's neither here nor there. Or maybe she has in a different way. Mm-hmm. Doc Ock probably hasn't yet. I don't remember. Regardless, hey, spider people got to throw the things in the trash and then come back differently. Moving right along. I'll come back for that. West Coast Avengers Kelly Thompson penned heartfelt thank you letter to fans and fellow creators in Series N. So this was basically the letter of the last page of the book. As I already talked about, but I didn't talk about the actual letter, which I would not read. But basically, it was a nice, touching letter. So you should go check that out. If not in this article, then at the back of this book. And if I did mention it, I think about the characters getting powers and lineage and that kind of stuff. So I won't go into it, but basically we found out something that I thought I knew that actually ended up being the case from that issue. All right, next up,
Nintendo of America has unveiled the cover art and release date for the Switch exclusive Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, the sequel, the first game in the Ultimate Alliance series since 2009's Ultimate Alliance 2, will arrive exclusively on Nintendo Switch on July 19th. I don't own a Nintendo Switch, but I've seen them all over the place.
And there's possibly about to get some more cheaper ones in the field, and if reports are if led to be true. Okay. So I'm excited for this because there hasn't been a movie, and like you said, in a while, and I enjoyed those games. I don't even think I've finished either one, but I do own them. So I should probably do that before this comes out, even though they don't connect like that, because basically all of them are a certain style, and as this one does, there's an event that they kind of toy off of. In this case, it's the Black Order and Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
So timely. But yeah, I can't wait for this. It's a Switch exclusive until a certain time where they're going to put it on other platforms. I will probably get it on the Switch. Next up, going back to Star Wars again, folks. Marvel offers Star Wars, and I'm going to take these next two because they're over there, because they're definitely connected out of this one article, just in case I forgot to do it in this one. But yeah, Marvel offers Star Wars comics sneak peek. So at a panel, at Star Wars Celebration, Marvel revealed that there's a bunch of books coming. No surprise. Greg Pak notably is taking over the main Star Wars book in 68, I believe. Yes. With Phil Noto doing the interiors. So that's going to be good. Noto is no stranger to Star Wars because he did the I think he was doing Charles Soule's Darth Vader run, if I'm not mistaken. So cool. I like Noto's art, so it's always good. There's a Target Vader miniseries that also was announced here, and it's going to be a 6-issue miniseries. Doesn't have a release date just yet, but basically some folks are targeting, well, a character that's been introduced previously is going to come back and try to get revenge on, go after Vader. And you can probably see how well that's going to work out. Then Pac was talking about his Age of Rebellion books, one or two of which came out this week. I don't know if the two that came out this week are the ones that he wrote, but nevertheless, they was talking about that. Yeah, the Boba Fett one. Let's see. Okay. So we'll be talking Boba Fett, Jabba, and Vader. So which I think a couple of tokens already been out. Boba Fett may not be out, and which leads to Luke and Leia. So yeah. So anyway, there's a bunch of books. There's going to be some more of those Age of Resistance books. So they seem to be doing all right, I guess. Including one with for Finn. There's one for Rey. I thought the Phasma one already came out, but maybe not. There's going to be a Holdo one. So that G. Willow Wilson's going to do, and another one of the Resistance special, which is basically a couple of different stories and all tucked into one. So yeah, there's going to be no shortage. Looks like there's going to be a Poe one. So yeah, more Star Wars books, folks, and like I said, Greg Pak is taking over the main Star Wars title.
Right.
Next up, outside of those two, because I already did the next two out of that.
The Target, right?
Yeah,
Marvel announces the Target Vader miniseries.
Did that one already?
Oh, you did? Oh, my apologies. I was trying to figure out where I got to start.
Sorry.
Oh, new Star Wars figures?
Yep.
New Star Wars figures come to Celebration 2019. Hasbro released official images of their Star Wars Celebration 2019 reveals. Check out all the exciting items in the link in our show notes or in the video of our podcast. The video,
as I scroll through them, very, very reminiscent of the old Kenner line. There's a Boba Fett. There's a Luke and Stormtrooper. There's 3 Lukes actually. There's a Stormtrooper Luke. There's a Pilot Luke, and then there's old Luke. Oh wait, that's Jedi Knight Luke. So that's basically Return of the Jedi Luke. So
that's Return of the Jedi Luke. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a prototype for Vader in a multicolor, and I can see that one going a different, getting used by in a different way. And let's see, Disney Park exclusives. This the Hondo Nako, Ray, Chewie, the whole bunch of. Guess what, folks? There's a lot of stuff.
There's a Hondo figure.
There's a Hondo figure. Yes,
I'm scrolling.
In fact, there was the panel for Galaxy's Edge, and apparently he's going to be up and through there, and they got the character doing some voice work for the park.
I was about to say, there's the Ezra Miller.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, Hondo! I see Hondo.
Yeah,
with Ray and Chewie. That's funny.
I like Hondo. Hondo was a great character.
Great character.
Yeah. So, and then of course Kylo and some other stormtroopers and a mouse droid.
That's funny.
So yeah. C3PO, R2, BB-8, and of course DJ Rex. And I say, of course, like everybody knows who DJ Rex is.
All right.
Ezra, Chopper, BT. Oh, BT from and Afra. So so BT1 000 from the Afra series. I love those. Those are dope. I love them. If you ever read if you've not read the Afra series, you should. It's pretty good fun for her. But for BT and 000, they're pretty awesome. And now they got figures, and of course there's wait, is that Obi-Wan? Yeah, that's young Obi-Wan with the ponytail. You know what? It's a bunch of them. We don't have to go through all of this, but there's a bunch of classic and new. Exciting and new. Anyway, next up, Vader Immortal.
I know. He's got a great accent. He's like Hondo.
Yeah, Hondo's dope. If you watch Clone Wars, and I think he did show up on Rebels.
Rebels too.
Yeah. So yeah, he definitely showed up on Rebels. I remember that. So Hondo, he's not Lando, but he's on that line. Actually, some would argue he's probably worse than Lando or better, one of the two. I don't know. He's not the same. Regardless, Vader Immortal VR trailer pits.
Not Ezra Miller. I said Miller.
You did say Ezra Miller. Yeah, that's a different.
Yeah, that's a real life person, Ezra Bridger.
Yeah, I don't like him just as much as I don't like. Anyway, you must stop that. I grew to like Mr. Bridger, so I to a certain point, and I still
exactly. I tolerated Bridger.
Exactly. And I still haven't finished. Although I got spoiled on the end of season 4, I still haven't.
You haven't finished Rebels?
I still haven't. No,
I actually blew through that like so fast. But
anyway. Yeah, you're a binger. I'm not. So I have to be in a place for that. But soon. And I think I wanted to go back to 3 and watch that. This is why I hadn't watched 4, because I couldn't remember if I had finished 3 or not. But it kind of at this point kind of doesn't matter. Anyway, like I said, like I keep alluding to, Vader Immortal VR trailer pits you against the Sith Lord. So this is basically the VR. This is the VR treatment for Darth Vader. That is, I want to say there's another one, but from ILM X Labs and Oculus Rift. So this is a VR thing, as said. Takes you through Vader's castle, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, they talked about it at Celebration. So it looks good. It's a VR game. So what are you gonna do? Next up. Well, I'm gonna take this one too because it has news. So there was a Vader Immortal panel at Star Wars Celebration, and they talked about some things that's going to be in there, including the fact that Maya Rudolph is going to be in this as a droid.
Okay.
Zoe 3, who's going to be going along with you, Jerome. I want to say they may have taken this because the Vader's Castle was a miniseries that they did around Halloween. It was kind of Halloween inspired. And I wonder if they might be taking some beats from that, but I'm not too sure. So actors from Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars Resistance also have joined in the cast, like Steve Bloom, who played Zeb. I love Steve Bloom. Didn't like Zeb that much in the beginning. And Scott Lawrence, who plays Jarek Yeager from Resistance, is going to be in it. I still haven't watched Resistance, so I don't know who that is. And you know what? It ties on to another VR Star Wars VR thing. So as a thing, and there's some other. You get to meet Mustafarians, which has been shown up in the books. This specifically showed up in the Darth Vader books recently, and some other stuff. We don't have to belabor that, but yeah, that's coming out at some point, so you can go check it out if you have VR. Next
up, EA Games is back. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order had a debut trailer that revealed the new hero in this game. What was that?
I said it was good. So yeah, there was a panel at Celebration. The visual reveal trailer. So this was cool for a couple of different reasons, because the antagonist of the story, or at least who's going to be in the main antagonist of it, is the second sister, one of the Inquisitors, which you have seen in Rebels. Which that was the sixth. Well, excuse me, let me rephrase that. She was introduced in Charles Soule's Darth Vader book, and then the sixth sister was in Rebels, but they were part of the same group, nevertheless. And we get introduced to the main hero, whose name was Cal, and I could have sworn they said Cal. I was like, wait, is it Caleb? Is it Caleb Doom? It is not.
It's not.
It is not, because I was like, dang it, it's going to be Kanan. I was like, all right, I can do that. I'll take that. But apparently, it's a Cal something or other, and it's going to be voiced and acted by the guy who plays Jerome, aka Proto Joker on Gotham.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's all right. Anyway, next up.
Alrighty. So you took.
Yeah,
I was about to say you folded it right in, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Star Wars' full Chosen One prophecy has finally been revealed. So apparently, during Celebration, they expounded upon that Chosen One prophecy that I guess.
No, this they might have talked about this. So basically, Claudia Gray is coming out with a new novel called Master and Apprentice, and
okay,
and that is going to bring that out.
Alrighty, good for them.
Yeah, so they did talk. So they definitely talk, because of the panel talk about all the books that's coming out, and Claudia Gray was there, and she got to shoot the t-shirt gun. And by the way, November 15th is when Fallen Order, the video game, is coming out. But that was the part I didn't get to say. So yeah, the prophecy is going to be fully revealed. Next, Star Wars.
I'm getting hammered in the head with Star Wars right now.
Hey, I warned you.
God.
So anyway,
what's next?
The Republic is getting an expansion called Onslaught in September. So it's new. I think it's a free. Want to say it's a free. So Star Wars: The Old Republic is the MMO. If you did not already know, made by BioWare. Based off of the Old Republic and set during the same time period. It's a free-to-play MMO, if you didn't already know. And I believe it's free. I'm not sure if it's... Yeah, it'll be free to all subscribers, and it will add new story, 2 new planets, a new flashpoint, new operations and abilities. Next.
Blue milk!
Okay.
I guess you can't milk the aliens. And you can make lightsabers and drink space Coke at Star Wars' Galaxy's Edge that's opening at Disneyland next month and Disney World in August.
And so that was they talked about this during Celebration, and the when they were talking about the Galaxy's Edge stuff. So apparently Coke is designing some new bottles, as you can see if you're watching the video. That looks like a thermal detonator. Oh
gosh.
And it's gonna be using the Star Wars language Abarish, and it's gonna be sold at Galaxy's Edge. So I think you can only find them there. I believe that is what this says. So you'll have to get them out of the park, and you will, because you're gonna, if you're a Star Wars collector, you might not want to get the water because it just looks generic. But the thermal detonator looking bottles of Coke and Sprite and Diet Coke are probably collector's items for such a person. Yes. Or you could use them as Christmas bulbs. I don't know, but they look like thermal detonators, and that's all that matters. Next. And I think blue milk, which is I think is probably just gonna be a milkshake or something. I can't remember what they said about that one part. But it was that one they didn't mention. All right, so we're getting away from Star Wars for a sec. Actually, I think that's it probably. Marvel's Legends.
Huh?
Oh, sorry.
DC Collectibles.
No. I was looking at this video. Sorry. DC Collectibles unveils December 2019 solicitation. So toys.
Nice.
Yep. So a bunch of figures. Bane looks like from Batman animated series. So you got those characters. You got Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Bane, and of course, fan favorite, Killer Croc, who threw a rock at him.
That's right.
It was a big rock. Anyway. And of course you got Batman versus Destro. You got this Huntress. Who the heck is this? Is that Mary Marvel or is that Death? I don't know. But anyway, oh no, that's Death. That might be Mary Marvel. No, Death Nurse. No. You know what? A bunch of characters. That is Mary Marvel. So we don't need to go through all of that. And and from the Bombshell line and some other places. So that's coming out in December.
All right. Let the jokes keep coming.
I'm so glad you got this one.
Shout out to PCN_Dirt, who's eagerly awaiting the end of Doomsday Clock. But unfortunately, Doomsday Clock number 10 has been pushed back even further from its originally solicited March 27th date. It's now scheduled to come out May 15th. Please note that every week for the last 4 weeks, DC has revised the release date of Doomsday Clock number 10, but has not given a reason for the delay.
Because I think they heard us and probably were doing this just to spite.
Right. I was about to say it's still even money that this book makes it into 2020.
It's almost as if like maybe there's some sort of world record for this going like 3 years out of the way, but I doubt that very serious because something else probably has gotten it. But if this ends up somewhere next year, I will laugh. I will totally laugh.
I gotta know if there's Vegas odds on this. So
yeah, I kind of wonder, but I doubt it. But yeah, I would wonder. I would probably take that odds if I had the money. Anyway, Buffy the Vampire Slayer number 4. So this is an issue no Buffy fan can miss, and I think we kind of already talked about this. So basically, one of the Scoobies is going to catch it. But there's also a first appearance, which we definitely did talk about because that is when Angel comes into the fold. And I believe, I don't know if I got this in there or not, but there is supposedly, I'm going to skip ahead to this actually, so we can get it out of the way. Boom reveals one more surprise with Buffy vs. Angel ongoing. There's going to be a Angel Zero that's going to come out. That's going to be given to retailers for free.
It's out this week.
Yep. So you can go check that out.
If you haven't yet gone to your comic shop, you'll see it on the shelves.
Exactly. So you can go check that out, and it's free. If you're a Buffy fan, you are probably elated.
It's also written by Brian Edward Hill.
That's correct. That is. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. I totally forgot about it. And I think I forgot. I can't remember if I congratulated him a lot. Been on the show before. Maybe we'll have him back again at some point. No,
absolutely.
No. Man's busy though. Anyway, next up.
He's always looking to hang out, though, from what I remember him saying. So
it's true, and he's definitely, he will push this along because he's got his hands on a lot of pies.
Next up, Xena and Gabrielle are back in action in this week's Warrior Princess number 1, and there's previews available for it.
Dun, 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 dun. Yep, written by Vidya Alaya of Black Panther, Shuri, and Wonder Woman, and a bunch of other stuff. I believe she is also the one writing Livewire for Valiant. Or they, I'm sorry, or the ones writing that. Either way, there's a new Xena book, and here's a preview of it. Yeah, there you go. There's a new Xena book, which I know there's been some in the past, and I've never read them. But I don't know. Regardless, next up, Charlie's Angels meets the Bionic Woman this July.
There's a crossover you never thought you'd get.
I know, right? It kind of makes sense. Weirdly enough, I don't know, given because they were both 70s shows that had a time and a place, I guess. Which, by the way, I didn't put this in the lineup. Apparently, Mark Wahlberg is in talks to do the $6 Million Man movie.
Screw Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, kind of, basically. So yeah, I don't. That's probably the other reason why I didn't put it in the lineup. Next up,
there's a new Exo Man of War title, and the creative team and launch window has been revealed. So, contrary to our show notes, this was tweeted out by Valiant Entertainment editor Heather Antos within the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
The ongoing series is from Dennis Hopeless, Emilio Lizo, Ruth Redmond, and Hassan Otsmani Elhau, with covers by Christian Ward, coming your way this November.
None of us on this panel has read any. I think somebody's tried though.
I tried reading a long time ago, like when they initially launched with Valiant ages ago, and like the.
I take the bite. I've read a little Archer and Armstrong and Quantum and
Woody. Yeah, that I've read.
Yeah, so back in the day, but nothing recent. So
right.
Congrats to the creative team for that. Speaking of Ninjak 6-scale figure announced.
Isn't it Ninja K?
I don't know. I have even said myself that. See, some people have jokingly said Ninja K, and I can't tell if it was actually a joke, if that's how it's supposedly actually be, or it's actually Ninjak. I don't know. I really don't know. But you would think if it was Ninja K, it would be like Ninja-K as opposed to the way.
Right.
So I don't know.
I'm kidding.
I know. I mean, I'm with you because I have jokingly said Ninja K, and don't know if that's actually true. And I've heard the jokes like plenty of times of whether it's Ninjak or Ninja K.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really care. It does because I'm not reading and don't care. Which that's sad. I shouldn't say that like that, but that's always been a silly one. Anyway, he's got a figure. I don't know if there's been any other Valiant figures before. Is this like the first one?
Holy criminoli! This is $160.
Right.
Holy cow! This is one of those super fancy 6-inch figures.
More power to is there even a call for that? Is there enough? Well, you know what? There are some Valiant fans who pretty much got away from the big two because they didn't let them play at the ballpark or something. I don't know.
All right.
So maybe this is for them. But shout out to Big Bad Toy Store, I guess.
That's crazy. All right, new spillover section.
Yes. Yeah, we're fastly getting through the stuff.
Lupin,
sadly,
Monkey Punch dies at age of 81. The voice actor behind it.
No. The mangaka.
Oh, I'm sorry. The artist behind it. Okay.
Yeah, the artist writer. Yes, professionally known as Monkey Punch. Now, I've looked him up, and I think he might have been also a jazz artist.
Okay.
Or there's somebody by that same name who is, but that also died recently. But I think it might be him. But yeah, anyway, he died on the level of pneumonia, according to Yahoo. But yes, best known but Kazuhiko Kato, professionally known as Monkey Punch, creator of Lupin the Third. That's probably the version. I don't know if that's the actual. Whatever. Let's see. Yeah, so he was 81. It was in pneumonia, and I've seen a lot of people, tweeting this out. So he must have been definitely. I mean, outside of the Lupin thing, he's definitely notable to a lot of people's. So rest in peace. Next up.
This is yours, actually.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, you could skip over the boom one because you just talked about it. First.
Yes, I did. You're right. So all right, I did. Wow. I trapped my own self. She's creating an all-female superhero, and I'm cutting none of this out, by the way. I never do. She's creating an all-female superhero comic book universe, according to Black Enterprises, and that person is Jasmine Truesdale, who's a comic book aficionado who launched Aza. I don't know the pronunciation. I apologize. That probably Aza, a branding comics design company. Asa Comics has 2 titles, The Keepers and Asa Minis, a child-friendly comic. So good luck in your endeavors for that. Hopefully we'll be seeing that.
Alrighty, next up, Star Trek Online kicks off a new event with a free Tier 6 ship coupon as a reward. So on the online game, you can get a free Tier 6 ship with no strings attached.
Well,
very valuable, apparently.
That is actually, yeah, because as a person who plays this game, a free T6 ship doesn't come along that often unless it's coming out of a box that you have to pay money for at some point, be in-game money or whatever. Regardless, it is free, but you still have to do some stuff. Like there's a new task force, there's a new event that's out now that you can farm out to get enough points to get said T-ship. And I'm pretty sure there's probably about 2 or 3 people, because this just started like a day or 2 ago, that has probably already got this new ship because they are crazy. But it usually takes a while to earn enough points to kind of get as much as they're asking for. But nevertheless, it's a thing. So if you are on Star Trek Online and you're looking for a free T6 that you haven't already gotten, hey, guess what? There's a way to get it for things you're probably going to do anyway. Next up, Mark Millar and Image Netflix to produce Space Bandits comic. Some people call him the Space Bandit. A female-led sci-fi story described by Millar as a female Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid set in space with a massive and exciting cast of characters. Superstar artist Mateo Scalera will illustrate the comic book translation of this original Netflix property published by Image. That whole thing is weird. We talked about this before, because like the whole Netflix, Menard's got a Netflix deal, but then the comics is coming out from Image, which that kind of makes sense, but it made it sound like Netflix was doing the comics. So anyway, it doesn't matter. So here's the new things if you like Mark Millar and that sounds appealing to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like I have to illustrate this next one, so go for it.
Transformers, the trading card game, gets devastated.
Yes. So this is dope. So to short order. So we've talked about this before because I've gotten the games when it first came out. This is a new set that is about to come out. If it's wait, is it out? Yeah, it is about to come out. I think it's about to come out. So basically, this is a set. So the Combiner set just came out like a month or so ago, and it had Metroplex. No, wait, yeah, Rise of the Combiner set came out a month ago with a bunch of new cards and Metroplex. This is a deck centered around Devastator. So I'm going to go off screen share so I can just show this real quick. This is a standard size card. Yes, this is a Magic card, not a Transformers card. Some of you probably like this card. That's beside the point. This, folks, is a standard size Transformers card, not the battle card, not the battle action cards, because the battle action cards are this size. This is the Transformers card. You see how much bigger they are.
Mm-hmm.
This, oops. Okay, and yeah, I know some people are like, you don't have these in sleeve, you Philistine, you crazy person. Shut up. This is a Mako Supreme card, which, as you can see, bigger than the standard size card.
Jesus.
Yes. Now imagine 5 or 6 of these cards making up a set, and along with some battle cards. That's what this Devastator set is. Like 5 or 6 of these big cards that put together to make Devastator. And I think on the back they have the individual robots. So they have the individual robots on one side, and then they have one part of Devastator.
Okay.
That you have to put together and you put in and you use as a deck. And of course, this deck is going to have action cards with it. But it's going to be 5 of these big ass cards.
Jesus.
With potentially no sleeve, by the way, because there are no sleeves for cards this size. So ridiculous. Anyway, that's a new set that's coming out. And going back to the screen share, you can see you can see how they fit together.
That's
ridiculous.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. I haven't had a chance to actually play the game, but I've been collecting the cards. So one day I hope to actually use them in a game. It's not that hard to play, but it's there's a couple of concepts that I need to wrap my head around. And I've just been getting back into Magic again, so I'm going down a really terrible road. So yes, and you can see the cards. I think they're folded. Okay, yeah, so they may be folded out. So what you're seeing in this picture are the folded out, or the vehicle and the bot mode, which would usually dictate one side or the other of the card, but on the back of these is probably the folded out big part of Devastator. So this is ridiculous. The whole Transformer thing is kind of ridiculous for this whole thing, but people like it. So anyway, that's that, and like I said, it's coming out soon. That's probably more than a lot of people on here even care to know about. Whatever. I like card games. What can I say? I'm not good at them, but I love them.
I'm gonna ring the spoiler bell for the next one because this is your turn on this one. So I'm gonna hit the spoiler bell. You are all forewarned.
Oops. 13. So yeah, we kind of alluded to this earlier when we were talking about the World of Realm stuff, but Thor's Jane Foster. Oh, I thought you hit the sound effect.
No, you mean the thunder? No, but I definitely made sure to hit the spoiler bell before this because we are going into spoilerific territory.
Yeah, Thor's Jane Foster revealed as Marvel's new Valkyrie. So this is what I was talking about before the show, in that like this kind of came technically before things actually happened, but at the same time, this was announced at C2E2 apparently. So this was already announced well before War of the Realms kind of started. So spoiler alert again. We talked about this, but we didn't say what happened. Well, we talked about what happened. We didn't talk about who. Guess what? Last page, Valkyrie died. That's Bruno. So what led me to the question, which I didn't ask then because I couldn't, because we didn't necessarily say, what happens to Annabelle Riggs?
Right, who is sharing the space?
Right. So, and as we saw at the end of As Guardians of the Galaxy, got whisked away to presumably join the fight here in second issue. But like I said, Valkyrie met her end at the end of this, so that led to that question, and which leads to this, that Jane Foster ends up being the new Valkyrie in an upcoming new series that she's going to have written by Jason Aaron and Al Ewing. So that book's going to be probably good and crazy in good hands.
Yes.
The artist on is Kafu.
Right. I don't know if you're familiar with this artist. I'm not. But
I kind of am. I've seen that name on some stuff I've written.
I just Googled it, and apparently he's Kafu. I'm not sure if it's a he or she, but has done some work on Valiant.
Yes, and
it's actually really good-looking art. So this might be a book to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, like I said, I've seen that artist on. I feel like I know for fact I've seen the artist's name on some things I've read. So I expect the art to be pretty good on that one.
I mean, just Googling, don't Google just Kafu, because apparently he's a soccer player also. So what you should Google is Kafu art or comic art or something along those lines, and you'll see some really, really nice looking work.
Yes. So, like I said, this book will be, if not, this book has a good creative team on it, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the part of this article goes into the fact that, Jane Foster being Valkyrie, she's going to be definitely very different from the old Valkyrie that we know, who is actually going to apparently show up in this book in some way, shape, or form. So Jane Foster is going to have a weapon called Undrawn, the All Weapon. I guess who's going to get forged during the course of the War of the Realms, and it can change shape and be whatever the world needs. So it's basically like a lantern ring, or I was trying to figure out, there was another shape-shifting weapon that I could think of, but I can't think of right now.
Mm-hmm.
And which also includes wings, so she'll be able to fly herself as opposed to using a horse.
Okay.
So, and the book will be about her defining her newfound role. Jane Fonda, as you know, was a Thor, so she knows what being a Thor looks like, and now she's going to be redefining the role of a Valkyrie and her place in that. So that'll be kind of interesting.
It should be.
So look forward to that in July.
Yeah, it's coming up soon in the wake of the World of Realms.
Yeah, which again, solicitors are should be out for Marvel at this point because everything, most of the other stuff is. So that's
right. If it's not tonight, tomorrow, right? Exactly.
Well, they said I think I saw Newsarama said 2:00 this afternoon, so it might already. I just hadn't pulled it. Yep, and matter of fact, I see it on this other article, so it's definitely.
There you go.
So that will be in the show notes.
All right. And last but not least.
Yep.
Last but not least, DC Universe, the app, has already added 10,000 comics this week.
Yeah.
Well, they added a bunch because I went on the app today, when I was perusing a little bit of the Justice League versus the Fatal Five.
Sure.
I was cruising through the comic book listings, and obviously I haven't been as regular looking at the comic book selection. I know that's been a thorny issue that we've talked about with PCN_Dirt as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the three of us are the ones who've had some experience with the app.
Yes,
and
I think all four of us. I think Tim also.
Right, I can't confirm. I'm not 100% sure about Tim, but I definitely know that the three of us have had experience with the DC Universe app.
Right. And
I know the PCN_Dirt wasn't happy with what was available on it.
Kind of sparse.
Within a few weeks, I think he had, within a few months, I think he had already stopped subscribing. But Roddy is still on it, and I had a chance to.
I can confirm that Tim still. I can confirm that's Tim still, because he tweeted about the app being on the Xbox.
Okay, so that being said, but in terms of the panel's active users of the app, I could tell you that I've watched shows, and I think Roddykat has as well.
That's correct.
On the app, but not necessarily we've not necessarily been users of the comic books that are available on the app for viewing and reading. I noticed though on Wednesday I'm sorry?
Not but not heavily, but yes.
Right, we're just not heavy users. We're not, it's not something we utilize all the time. But on Wednesday when I was at the comic shop, someone mentioned this to me, and I decided to look into it. So when I was poking around and looking at a little bit of Justice League and Fatal 5 today, I noticed that there were quite a few comics that were available on the service. Quite a few more than the last time I had checked.
Right. So that bodes well because it needed it.
Listen, they've got to make it worth the price point.
Yeah, and it's starting to get there. I mean, it was slow. Granted, starting off, there was some things there. If you're a casual reader, if you're read Batman, because goodness knows it was surrounded by a bunch of Batman stuff at the start. So if that was your thing, then you were appeased,
right?
Probably. If you didn't already have a lot of that stuff, then they slowly started getting stuff in, depending on what was coming out media wise,
right? So
hence like Shazam stuff recently and whatever. So I don't know. So 10,000 books, that's a deep season assortment. It's getting significant.
That's basically my entire collection. But ultimately, I thought it was a fair criticism. I've heard it online. I've heard it on other podcasts about the availability, the selection of comic books on this app. But with these additions, and hopefully without subtractions, this should prove to be a good factor in deciding, a positive factor in deciding whether or not to maintain a subscription to the service, based on the price.
Yes,
for several people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. Krypton. The first season of Krypton is on there, and I forgot to pull the article about that season 2 promo with Lobo in it is also out. So that should be starting up fairly soon if you are so inclined. So I'm just sitting up here looking at the apps, kind of perusing to see if I can see anything significant in the comic section. But that's.
Well, I was about to say the entire Wolfman Perez New Teen Titans run is there.
Actually, I'm interested in. I thought I was already on there though, because I know they did have some Teen Titans, but not that.
Well, it's the entire first. Yeah, before it moves to, I didn't actually check to see if Tales of the Teen Titans of the New Teen Titans is on there, because that's technically the continuation that goes into the Judas contract. But I would be surprised if it's not there. It would have to be there for people to read the Judas contract.
No, because I've said it before. These are the same people who put like an issue of a crisis,
right?
Issue of a crisis,
right? That's really annoying.
Yeah. So it's really weird the selection they put in. But regardless, like I said, it's starting to get better, and hopefully they don't, like I said, they don't take a bunch off. So yeah, go check that out if you're so inclined. It is out there.
Right, seriously, people, storage is not that expensive.
I mean, especially if you got well. I mean, granted, it triples when you're doing something like this. I get that, but if you got Warner Brothers money, I hope they would have a significant enough budget to do that if they want to succeed.
Right.
But then again, Warner Brothers may not care about the DC arm all that much, so who knows where that goes. And I can see that happening as much as anything, because like, you're just comic books, you don't need much.
That's terrible. But anyway,
but it's business, sadly.
Right.
Yeah, but go check that out, and we can wrap this up.
Yep. Last ad read of the night, folks. And you know what happens. You know what we read when we're tired and it's late. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, hair gel, or comics. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
So yes, as we come to the end of this here Comic Book Chronicles, I want to remind you next week, Movie Protocol is in effect.
Oh yes.
Game.
Oh yes, Movie Protocol is in effect, and as we mentioned earlier, people, if you're out there on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and you still know people that haven't watched Endgame yet, do not post spoilers. Do not talk spoilers. Don't talk about it in the street. Wait till you get out of the movie theater. Talk about it in private. Just be cool.
I was about to say, talk about it. You can talk about it in the street because none of us will probably be around. But at the same time, now you're right. So it might be somebody around you that has.
People are walking to the theater.
I know, right? I can see that too. It's like, hey, so and so happened. I'm like, you jerks. Yeah, don't be jerks.
I was gonna say, you remember I'm in New York City. I'm drawing upon my experience.
So yeah, just and if you're trying to stay spoiler free or spoiler light, take a 20-sided with you. And no, I'm just kidding. Roll for Constitution. I don't know. But yeah, just be careful because that is definitely have. If you feel like you need to get out, stay away from social media during that time, it's would totally be understandable.
Yeah.
Or sufficient enough.
Is your 6 o'clock? Do you have a 6 o'clock showing Thursday night?
7 o'clock, I believe.
Okay, mine's 6.
So definitely
get out a little early to get there, but I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, and of course, take a diaper because it's gonna be
just drink ahead of time and go to the bathroom ahead of time and just be prepared to sit for a while.
Yeah, because it always kills me. I was like, I see people getting up in the middle of the movie, it's like you're missing. I'm like, okay, I get it. It might be look like a lull, but you might miss something. Well, okay, well, that's peace. And people walk out at the credits apparently, which Marvel movies have ruined me on. Even if it's not a Marvel movie, that's kind of sad, but that is what it is. Anywho, so that is the state of next week's, and we will definitely reschedule. So be sure to look at our social medias of note, which is as followed. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can add the News on Need on Twitter, CB Caps on Instagram, Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram, PCN_dirt at PCN_dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, and all of his subsequent umbrella sites therein. Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, CB Cron on Twitter, The Click Nation on Twitter. That's DKLIQNATION, all one word, and theclicknation.com and theclicknation.com, just in case it sounded differently. And of course, Comic Book Resources, where he's writing his face off. You can find this here program. Now that I think about it, I can't remember if I said this earlier, but you can find us on the CSPN podcast network. That's the Coles of the podcast network, CSPN.us.
Do it today.
Yep. You can also find us on Google Play and Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, and also Spotify, and the Cole Slither podcast network's SoundCloud page. Again, movie protocol next week. We'll stay tuned to our Twitters, and we'll let you know when.
Exactly. We will let you know,
or hold it to the week after that, however it works out. But until then, I was going to ask you, what are you looking forward to going into Endgame next week?
All of it.
Well, I guess that does say a lot. So
All of it.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's going to be intense. I can't believe it's here.
Yeah, no, it's all come down to this.
I think that's pretty much that. You know, we don't have to be hyped for it. The anticipation is there. Actually, sometimes it's a little bit of dread too, because we're afraid to see what's going to happen to a certain character. So,
well, you're also afraid to see, like, wow, are they going to stick this? Is this going to work out? Like they've been doing so far, they've been doing great so far, especially with the last couple of movies.
Right.
So yeah, you hope it pays off.
Absolutely.
And yeah, definitely, kind of dreading to see what happens to certain folks at their, dare we say, at the end of their contracts. So it's sad to say that is a factor, but it is definitely a factor.
Right. It's unfortunate that we have to understand that as adults.
Yes. So, but what a time we live in.
We got
it. That, folks, we will see you when we see you out in these tweets and whatnot. This has been the Comic Book Chronicles, and we are out.
Peace. One.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?